Tyler Mason lunged at the gray-haired woman with everything he had. 240 pounds of muscle, a college wrestling championship, and 23 years of never losing a fight. 45 seconds later, he was screaming on the ground, his arm bent at an angle God never intended, while Gloria Reyes stood over him without a single hair out of place. She was 54 years old. She had 3 grandchildren, and she had just shattered everything these recruits thought they knew about combat. Before we continue this incredible story, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel so you won't miss a single moment. Follow Gloria's journey to the very end and drop a comment telling me which city you're watching from. Let me see how far this story travels across the world. Now let's go back to the beginning. The phone rang at 3:47 in the morning. Gloria Reyes had been awake for 2 hours already, sitting in the darkness of her empty kitchen, holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. Sleep had become a stranger since David died. 18 months now, and the bed still felt wrong. The house still echoed with conversations that would never happen again. She looked at the caller ID, a number she hadn't seen in 6 years. Her hand trembled slightly as she answered. Gloria. The voice was older, rougher, but unmistakable. Raymond Cole. Master Sergeant Raymond Cole, the man who had served beside her husband for 15 years. Raymond, it's 4 in the morning. I know what time it is. I also know you're awake. You've been awake since David passed. Gloria closed her eyes. What do you want? I need you to come back. The words hit her like a physical blow. Come back. As if it were that simple, as if she could just walk back into that world after everything that had happened. I'm 54 years old, Raymond. I have 3 grandchildren. I haven't trained anyone in 6 years. I know exactly how old you are. I also know what you're capable of, what you've always been capable of. That woman doesn't exist anymore. Raymond's laugh was bitter. That woman never stopped existing. She's just been hiding. And I need her to stop hiding because this program is dying and you're the only one who can save it. Gloria stood up, walked to the window. Outside San Antonio was dark and quiet. A normal city full of normal people living normal lives. She had tried so hard to become one of them. Tell me, she said. 8 weeks. That's all we have before Special Operations Command pulls funding. 24 recruits who need to become exceptional warriors or the entire program gets shut down. Budget cuts, political pressure, you know how it works. Find someone else. There is no one else. Not with your record. Not with your skills. Not with... Raymond paused. David made me promise Gloria. Before he died, he made me promise that if you ever needed a reason to keep going, I would give you one. Gloria's throat tightened. David. Her husband of 31 years. The man who had watched her train elite forces across 3 continents. The man who had held her hand in that hospital room and told her to keep fighting even after he was gone. That's not fair, Raymond. I know. I'm asking anyway. She stood in silence for a long moment. The coffee had gone completely cold now. The kitchen felt smaller than it had an hour ago. Where do I report? Camp Pendleton, Marine Training Facility. 3 days from now. And if I fail, you won't. You've never failed at anything in your life, Gloria. Except maybe giving up on yourself. And I'm not going to let you do that either. 3 days later, Gloria pulled her pickup truck into the gravel parking lot of Camp Pendleton Marine Training Facility. The California sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold that reminded her of desert mornings in places she tried not to remember. She killed the engine and sat for a moment, hands gripping the wheel. 54 years old. gray streaking through hair that had once been jet black, reading glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. When she looked in the mirror these days, she saw her mother's face, staring back at her. What she didn't see was the woman who had spent 20 years teaching Marines how to kill with their bare hands. The woman who had trained elite forces in 3 continents. The woman who had once been called the most dangerous hand-to-hand combat instructor in the Marine Corps. That woman felt like a ghost from another lifetime. Gloria grabbed her duffel from the truck bed. The weight felt familiar. She had carried heavier loads through worse places. Fallujah, Kandahar, the Syrian border at 3 in the morning with a team depending on her to get them home. She had gotten them home. Most of them. The administration building loomed ahead. Gloria pushed through the double doors and found herself in a corridor that smelled like floor wax and old coffee. A young Marine behind a desk looked up, took in her civilian clothes and gray-streaked hair, and frowned slightly. "Can I help you, ma'am?" Gloria Reyes, reporting as ordered. The young Marine's fingers moved across his keyboard. His eyebrows rose. "Ma'am, Master Sergeant Cole is expecting you. 2nd floor office, 214. Do you need me to? I can find it." Gloria took the stairs slowly, deliberately. Her knees ached from years of hard training, from drops and falls and impacts that had accumulated like interest on a debt she was still paying. Office 214 had a brass nameplate that read, "Master Sergeant Raymond Cole," because she knocked twice. "Enter." The voice was weaker than she remembered. When Gloria opened the door, she understood why. Raymond Cole sat behind his desk in a wheelchair. His left leg was missing below the knee, and his right arm hung at an angle that suggested permanent nerve damage. The last 6 years had not been kind to him, but his eyes were the same. Sharp, assessing. The eyes of a warrior who refused to stop fighting even when his body had betrayed him. "Gloria." He didn't smile. Raymond had never been one for unnecessary emotions. "You look like hell. You look worse." Now he smiled just slightly. "Training accident, 2 years ago. Some 20-year-old hotshot decided to show off during a live-fire exercise. I pushed 3 recruits out of the way. Cost me a leg and most of my right arm. And they gave you a desk job. They tried to give me a medical discharge. I told them they could wheel me out of this building in a box or not at all. So they gave me this program instead." He gestured around the office. "Last chance for both of us, Gloria." She sat down across from him. "Tell me about the recruits." Raymond pulled out a file folder, slid it across the desk. 24 of them, ages 18 to 25, mix of prior service and straight civilian. They've completed basic past initial physical standards, and they think they're the next generation of special operations legends. Standard recruits, then. Some more standard than others. Raymond's eyes darkened. "The 4 you need to watch are Tyler Mason, Derek Stone, Marcus Webb, and Jake Hollister. They've formed an unofficial alliance. Call themselves the Alpha Squad. They think they run this program." Gloria opened the file. 4 photographs. 4 young faces staring at the camera with varying degrees of arrogance. Tyler Mason, 23 years old, 6'4", 240 pounds. College wrestling champion. Son of Major General Richard Mason, 2-star general, currently assigned to Special Operations Command. "His father is the one pushing for budget cuts," Raymond said quietly. "Word is he wants his son to shine. Doesn't want competition from a training program that might produce warriors who outperform his golden boy." Derek Stone. 22 years old, amateur MMA fighter with 3 underground wins. Disciplinary issues in basic training. Multiple complaints about excessive aggression during sparring sessions. Marcus Webb, 21 years old, fastest recruit in the program, holds the base record for the 2-mile run, believes speed is everything, hasn't learned yet that speed means nothing if you can't think. Jake Hollister, 24 years old, former gang member from Detroit, 3 arrests before enlisting, joined the Marines as an alternative to prison, carries enough anger for 10 men. Gloria studied each face carefully. She had trained hundreds of young men like these. Some had become exceptional warriors. Others had washed out within the first week. And a few had become ghosts that still visited her in the darkest hours of the night. "These 4 are going to test you," Raymond said. "They don't think a woman belongs here, especially not a woman your age. They will try to break you. They will try to humiliate you. They will try to drive you out of this program by any means necessary. And if they succeed, they won't." Raymond leaned forward in his wheelchair. "Because you're not just a woman, Gloria. You're not just a 54-year-old grandmother from San Antonio. You're the most dangerous hand-to-hand combat instructor this military has ever produced, and it's time these boys learned what that means." The mess hall was crowded when Gloria entered at 1100 hours. She had changed into standard fatigues, her gray-streaked hair pulled back in a tight regulation bun. No makeup, no jewelry, just a warrior preparing for battle. She grabbed a tray and moved through the serving line. Grilled chicken, steamed vegetables, rice, water bottle, nothing special. Nothing memorable. Exactly how she wanted it. The looks started immediately. 24 recruits plus support staff, and every single one of them turned to stare at the gray-haired woman carrying her tray across the mess hall. Some whispered. Others smirked. A few laughed openly. Gloria chose a table near the back corner. Strategic positioning. Back to the wall. Clear sight lines to all entrances. Old habits from combat zones that never quite went away. She ate slowly, methodically, pretending not to hear the comments floating across the room. "Is that a new lunch lady? Maybe she's somebody's mom here to drop off clean underwear. Dude, I think that's supposed to be our instructor." Laughter. More whispers. The kind of dismissive amusement that young men reserve for anyone they don't see as a threat. Gloria kept eating. A shadow fell across her table. She looked up. Tyler Mason stood there flanked by Derek Stone and Marcus Webb. Jake Hollister hung back slightly, watching with predator's eyes. "Hey there, Grandma," Tyler's voice carried across the mess hall designed for maximum audience. "You lost. The retirement home is about 30 miles that way." Gloria set down her fork. "Tyler Mason, college wrestling champion. Your father is Major General Richard Mason." Tyler's smile flickered just for a moment. "You know who I am." "I know who everyone in this program is. I've read your files. I've studied your backgrounds. I've analyzed your weaknesses." Gloria met his eyes steadily. "Do you know who I am?" "Yeah, I know who you are. You're the washed-up has-been they dragged out of retirement because nobody else wanted this job. You're probably here because my dad is about to shut this whole program down and they figured they might as well let some grandmother try one more time before they pull the plug." Derek Stone laughed. "Savage, bro." "Here's the thing, Grandma." Tyler leaned down, putting his face close to hers. "I don't know what kind of warriors you used to train back in the Stone Age, but things have changed. This isn't your generation's military anymore. We're faster, stronger, and better trained than anything you ever saw. So why don't you save yourself the embarrassment and go back to baking cookies for your grandkids?" Gloria held his gaze for a long moment. 20 years ago, she would have put him on the ground in 3 seconds. 10 years ago, she would have done it in 5. But she wasn't here to prove anything to this boy. Not yet. "My grandchildren prefer brownies," she said quietly. "And their grandmother makes the best brownies in San Antonio." Tyler blinked. That wasn't the reaction he expected. He wanted anger. He wanted intimidation. He wanted her to flinch. "I'm also the woman who's going to turn you into warriors," Gloria continued, "or watch you wash out trying. Either way, Mr. Mason, you're going to learn something over the next 8 weeks. The question is whether you're smart enough to figure out what it is." She went back to eating. Tyler stood there for a moment, uncertain. His friends were watching. The entire mess hall was watching. He needed to do something, say something, to maintain his dominance. "We'll see about that, Grandma. We'll see." He turned and walked away, his alpha squad falling in behind him. Gloria watched them go, noting the way they moved, the way they interacted, the hierarchy that had formed without conscious thought. Tyler was the leader, but Derek was the enforcer. Marcus was the strategist. And Jake was the wild card, the one who would do whatever it took to prove himself. She had trained men like these before, broken them down and built them back up, turned arrogant boys into humble warriors. But that was before David died, before she stopped training, before she let herself become the grandmother that Tyler Mason thought he saw. Gloria finished her meal in silence. The first battle had been fought. Nothing had been won or lost, only measured. Tomorrow, the real training would begin. Gloria found her quarters in a 2-story barracks that housed instructors and senior staff. Small room, single bed, metal locker window overlooking the obstacle course. She unpacked with military efficiency. Uniforms hung precisely. Boots aligned beneath. Personal items minimal. A photograph of David in his dress uniform taken 3 months before the cancer diagnosis. A worn copy of Marcus Aurelius that had survived countless deployments. A challenge coin with the Marine Corps emblem and the inscription, "First to Fight." She was hanging the photograph when she noticed something wrong. The door was slightly ajar. She had closed it firmly when she entered. A habit from years of operating in hostile environments. Gloria moved silently across the room. Her body remembered the training even if her mind had tried to forget. Weight balanced, center low, hands ready. She pushed the door open. The corridor was empty, but on the floor outside her room was a piece of paper folded in half. Gloria picked it up, unfolded it. "Go home, Grandma. This is your only warning." Below the words was a crude drawing of a tombstone with the name Reyes carved into it. Gloria stared at the note for a long moment. Then she walked calmly to the paper shredder in the corner of her room and destroyed it. She didn't report the threat. She didn't tell Raymond Cole. She didn't call security. Instead, she went to the obstacle course. The obstacle course at Camp Pendleton was legendary. Designed to break even the strongest recruits, it featured a 12-foot wall, a rope climb, a tire, run, barbed wire, crawl balance beam, and a quarter-mile sprint through sand that turned legs to jelly. The base record was 4 minutes 18 seconds set 30 years ago by a Marine who went on to become one of the first Navy SEALs. Gloria stood at the starting line. It was nearly midnight. The course was lit by floodlights that cast long shadows across the obstacles. She hadn't run this course in 6 years. Her knees ached. Her shoulders protested. Her body screamed at her that she was too old for this, that she should be home with her grandchildren, that she had nothing left to prove. Gloria started her watch. Then she ran. The wall came first. She hit it at full speed, hands finding purchase on the top edge, pulling herself up and over in a single fluid motion. Her muscles screamed. She ignored them. The tires were next. Left foot, right foot, don't think, just move. Her rhythm was rusty, but muscle memory took over. Decades of training couldn't be erased in 6 years. The rope climb burned her hands and shoulders. She used her legs the way she taught recruits to do it, the way that saved energy and prevented injury. The barbed wire crawl was the worst. Face down in the dirt, elbows and knees scraping through sand, while wire hovered inches above her back. She was too old for this. She was definitely too old for this. But she kept moving. The balance beam required focus. 12 feet off the ground, 4 inches wide, 20 feet long. Gloria had crossed beams like this in the dark, in the rain, while enemy fire erupted around her. This was nothing. The final sprint was agony. Pure agony. Her lungs burned. Her legs felt like they were filled with concrete. Every step was a battle against a body that wanted to quit. Gloria didn't quit. She crossed the finish line and slammed her watch. 3 minutes, 52 seconds. 26 seconds faster than the base record, 30 years after it was set, by a 54-year-old grandmother. Gloria stood in the darkness, hands on her knees, gasping for breath. Everything hurt. Everything was going to hurt worse tomorrow. But she could still do it. She could still be the warrior she needed to be. Behind her, she heard footsteps approaching. She turned. Raymond Cole sat in his wheelchair at the edge of the course, watching her with something that might have been pride. "How long have you been there?" Gloria asked. "Long enough. You beat the record by almost 30 seconds. I'm slower than I used to be. You're faster than anyone in that recruit class." Raymond wheeled himself closer. "David would be proud of you, Gloria. Not because of the time, because you didn't give up." Gloria looked at the obstacle course. Tomorrow she would stand in front of 24 recruits who thought she was a joke, a washed-up grandmother playing soldier. They had no idea what was coming. "First day of training," she said. 0500 hours. I want all 24 recruits in formation on that field." The official schedule says 0700. The schedule just changed. Gloria started walking back toward the barracks. If they want to be warriors, they can start by learning that warriors don't get to sleep in. Day 1. 0500 hours. Still dark. The California air was cold and sharp, carrying the smell of salt from the distant ocean and diesel from the vehicle depot. Gloria stood alone in the center of the training field. She wore standard fatigues, no rank insignia, nothing to indicate she was anything other than another face in the crowd. The recruits began arriving at 0455, stumbling out of their barracks with various expressions of confusion and anger. Midnight wake-up calls were not part of the standard schedule. Tyler Mason was the last to arrive at 0503, 3 minutes late. His hair was disheveled, his uniform hastily thrown on. He clearly expected this to be some kind of joke. Gloria waited until all 24 recruits were assembled in ragged formation. Then she spoke. "My name is Gloria Reyes. For the next 8 weeks, I will be your senior instructor. Before we begin, there is something you need to understand." She paused, making eye contact with each recruit in turn. "You think you know what a warrior looks like? You're wrong." Tyler snorted. Derek Stone rolled his eyes. Marcus Webb checked his watch. Gloria continued as if she hadn't noticed. "You think a warrior is big, strong, fast, young." She let the word hang in the air. "You think a warrior looks like you, talks like you, thinks like you." She began walking slowly down the line of recruits. A warrior is none of those things. A warrior is someone who understands that the battle is not against the enemy. The battle is against yourself, against your fear, against your ego, against every voice in your head telling you that you can't, that you won't, that you shouldn't. She stopped in front of Tyler. A warrior is not defined by how hard they can hit. A warrior is defined by how many times they can get hit and keep standing. Tyler's jaw tightened. He wanted to say something. Gloria could see it in his eyes. But something held him back. Maybe curiosity. Maybe the first stirrings of respect. Or maybe just the knowledge that his father was watching this program very carefully and any mistake could reflect badly on the Mason family name. "Your first lesson," Gloria said, stepping back to address the entire group, "is stillness." Confusion rippled through the ranks. "Stillness," Derek Stone laughed. "We're here to learn how to fight, not how to meditate. You will stand in this formation without moving for 45 minutes. Gloria continued, ignoring him. "No talking, no shifting your weight, no scratching itches or adjusting uniforms. Perfect stillness." "That's ridiculous," Tyler said. "What does standing still have to do with combat? Everything." Gloria's voice was quiet, but it carried across the field like a blade. "The warrior who cannot control their own body cannot hope to control a battlefield. The warrior who cannot find stillness in chaos will die in chaos." She checked her watch. 45 minutes begins now. Anyone who moves does punishment exercises until I decide they've learned enough. Anyone who speaks does double." The recruits exchanged glances. This had to be some kind of test, some kind of psychological game to establish dominance. They were young, strong, athletic. Standing still for 45 minutes should be nothing. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. At 12 minutes, Derek Stone shifted his weight from one foot to the other. Just slightly. Just enough. "Derek Stone," Gloria said calmly. "Push-ups until I say stop." "Are you serious? I barely moved. Now it's push-ups and a 5-mile run. Would you like to add anything else?" Derek's face flushed with anger, but he dropped and started doing push-ups. Gloria began counting. 1, 2, 3. At 15 minutes, Marcus Webb scratched his nose. An unconscious gesture, the kind everyone makes without thinking. "Marcus Webb, join your friend." Marcus opened his mouth to protest, then thought better of it. He dropped beside Derek. 1, 2, 3. At 22 minutes, Tyler Mason cracked. "This is insane," he said. "You can't expect Tyler Mason. Punishment exercises? Double portion." Tyler stared at her with pure hatred in his eyes, but he dropped and started pushing. 1, 2, 3. By 30 minutes, 16 recruits were doing punishment exercises. Only 8 remained standing perfectly still. Among them was a 19-year-old named Danny Chen. He was the smallest recruit in the program. 5'7", 140 pounds. Everyone had dismissed him as too weak, too quiet, too unremarkable. But Danny hadn't moved a muscle in 30 minutes. His eyes were focused on something in the distance, his breathing slow and controlled. He had found the stillness that Gloria was teaching them to find. Gloria noticed. She always noticed the ones who understood. At 40 minutes, Jake Hollister broke. He had lasted longer than Gloria expected for someone with his background. Rage usually made stillness impossible. "Push-ups, Mr. Hollister." Jake didn't argue. He dropped and started working. There was something in his eyes that said he understood this was a test, even if he didn't understand what was being tested. At 45 minutes exactly, Gloria called time. 3 recruits remained standing. Danny Chen, a woman named Sarah Park, and a quiet kid from Idaho named Thomas Green. The 3 that everyone had dismissed as unremarkable. "These 3, Gloria said, gesturing to the standing recruits, "just demonstrated something that the rest of you failed to learn. They understood that the exercise wasn't about physical ability, it was about mental discipline, about controlling the urge to react to every stimulus." She looked at Tyler, who was still doing push-ups with hatred burning in his eyes. "You can stop now, Mr. Mason. All of you can stop." The recruits slowly got to their feet, muscles aching, pride wounded. "Tomorrow's lesson will be harder," Gloria said. "Much harder. I suggest you spend tonight thinking about what you learned today." She turned and walked away, leaving 24 confused and humiliated recruits standing in the growing light of dawn. That night, Gloria sat in her quarters reviewing files and planning the next day's training. A knock at her door interrupted her concentration. "Enter." Raymond Cole wheeled himself in, his face troubled. "We have a problem." Gloria set down the files. "What kind of problem?" "Tyler Mason called his father tonight, complained about the training, said you were targeting him, specifically trying to humiliate him in front of the other recruits. And Major General Mason is very unhappy. He's scheduled a call with the base commander tomorrow morning. Word is he wants you removed from the program immediately." Gloria felt something cold settle in her stomach. Not fear. She had faced far worse than an angry 2-star general. But the implications were clear. The program's survival depended on staying invisible, on flying under the radar, until the final evaluation proved their worth. If General Mason got her removed now, there would be no evaluation. No second chance. The program would die, and everything David believed in would die with it. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. Raymond was quiet for a moment. "I want you to do exactly what you were doing. Train these recruits. Push them harder than they've ever been pushed. And when the time comes for that evaluation, I want them to perform at a level that makes General Mason choke on his own words. And if he gets me removed before then, he won't." Raymond's eyes were hard. "Because tomorrow morning I'm going to be on that call too. And I'm going to remind the base commander that this program answers to Special Operations Command, not to any 2-star general with a grudge." He started to wheel himself toward the door, then stopped. "Gloria, David used to tell me that the best warriors aren't the ones who never face opposition. They're the ones who face opposition and win anyway." David said a lot of things. Yes, he did, and most of them were true. Raymond opened the door. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be a long day." After he left, Gloria sat in the darkness for a long time. She thought about David lying in that hospital bed, holding her hand with fingers that had grown too weak to grip properly. "Don't stop fighting," he had whispered. "Promise me, Gloria. Whatever happens after I'm gone, don't stop fighting." She had promised. And now, 18 months later, she was finally starting to keep that promise. Day 2 began at 0400 hours. 1 hour earlier than the day before. The recruits were even more confused and angry than they had been the first day. Tyler Mason's face was a mask of barely controlled fury. Word had spread about his call to his father, and now everyone was watching to see what would happen. Gloria stood before them, as if nothing had changed. "Today's lesson is pain," she said. "Not how to inflict it, how to endure it." She led them on a 5-mile run through sand and uneven terrain. Then a 2-hour session of hand-to-hand combat drills designed to push their bodies to the absolute limit. Then another run. Then combat drills again. By noon, 3 recruits had vomited. 2 had collapsed from exhaustion. Tyler Mason was still standing, but barely. His wrestling conditioning had prepared him for short bursts of intense effort, not sustained punishment that stretched for hours. Gloria watched them suffer and felt nothing. Not because she was cruel, because she understood what they didn't yet understand. The enemy they would face in combat wouldn't care about their fatigue, wouldn't give them water breaks, wouldn't let them tap out when things got too hard. She was teaching them to survive. During the afternoon hand-to-hand session, Tyler approached her. "I want to demonstrate the throw you just showed us." he said. His voice was controlled, but Gloria could see what was really happening. He wanted to test her, wanted to see if the old woman could actually fight, or was just talking a good game. "Very well," Gloria said. "You may attack when ready." Tyler smiled. This was what he had been waiting for. A chance to prove himself in front of everyone. A chance to put this grandmother in her place. He lunged. Gloria moved. What happened next took less than a second. Tyler's momentum was redirected, his balance stolen, his body twisted in a direction his muscles weren't prepared to follow. He hit the ground hard. Not hard enough to injure, just hard enough to embarrass. "Again," Gloria said. Tyler got up, face red with humiliation and anger. He lunged again. Same result. Again. 3 more times Tyler attacked. 3 more times he ended up on the ground. The other recruits watched in stunned silence. Tyler Mason, the biggest and strongest among them, couldn't land a single blow on a 54-year-old woman. "Enough," Gloria said finally. "The lesson here is not that I am stronger than you, Mr. Mason. The lesson is that strength without technique is meaningless. Speed without strategy is worthless. Size without skill is just a larger target." She turned to address the entire group. "I am going to teach you things that will save your lives. Not because I want your gratitude, not because I want your respect, because it's my job, and I do my job well." Tyler stood there, chest heaving, fists clenched at his sides. "This isn't over," he said quietly. Gloria met his eyes. "No," she agreed. "It's just beginning." That evening, Gloria was walking back to her quarters when she noticed 4 figures waiting in the shadows near the obstacle course. Tyler, Derek, Marcus, Jake, the Alpha Squad. She could have turned around, could have called for security, could have avoided the confrontation entirely. Instead, she walked directly toward them. "Gentlemen, nice night for a walk." Tyler stepped forward. "We need to talk." "So talk." "Not here. Follow us." They led her to a secluded area behind the equipment storage building, away from cameras, away from witnesses. The kind of place where accidents could happen and nobody would see a thing. Gloria had been in places like this before. In Fallujah, an alley like this had nearly ended her career. In Kandahar, a room like this had ended 3 enemies instead. "Here's the situation, Grandma," Tyler said. His voice was cold, controlled. Not the arrogant boy from the mess hall. Something darker. "My father is going to get you removed from this program. It's only a matter of time, but we decided to give you a chance to leave with dignity." "How generous." "Walk away. Tonight. Go back to San Antonio and your grandchildren and your brownies. Tell everyone you got homesick, you weren't feeling well, whatever story you want to tell. And we forget any of this ever happened." Gloria looked at each of them in turn. Tyler, who thought his father's rank made him untouchable. Derek, whose aggression was a mask for deep insecurity. Marcus, whose speed made him think he was special. Jake, whose anger burned so hot it was eating him alive. "And if I don't," Tyler smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "Then we make your life here very, very difficult. Training accidents happen all the time. Equipment malfunctions. Someone takes a fall during night exercises. Nobody's fault, really. Just bad luck. Are you threatening me, Mr. Mason? I'm offering you a choice. Smart people take the easy way out. My father taught me that." Gloria was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had heard threats from men far more dangerous than these 4 boys could ever imagine. "Your father taught you wrong," she said. "Smart people don't take the easy way out. Smart people prepare for the hard way and win anyway. She stepped closer to Tyler, close enough that he could see the look in her eyes. The look that had made enemy combatants hesitate. The look that had convinced men with guns to reconsider their choices. You want to make my life difficult? Go ahead. Try. But understand something, Mr. Mason. I've been shot, stabbed, blown up, and left for dead in places you can't pronounce. I've buried friends and enemies. I've done things that would give you nightmares for the rest of your life. And I'm still here. She let that sink in. Your father's phone calls don't scare me. Your training accidents don't scare me. You don't scare me. Because I've faced real fear, the kind that makes your knees give out and your hands shake, and I've learned how to keep moving anyway. Gloria turned to walk away, then stopped. One more thing. You're right that this isn't over. In 8 weeks, you're going to face an evaluation that will determine whether this program survives. And by the time that evaluation comes, you're going to be warriors, not because you wanted to be, but because I made you into warriors. That's my job. And nobody, not your father, not you, not anyone is going to stop me from doing it. She walked away into the darkness. Behind her, 4 young men stood in silence, trying to process what had just happened. For the first time since arriving at Camp Pendleton, Tyler Mason felt something he hadn't felt in years. Doubt. The next morning, Gloria arrived at the training field to find her equipment scattered across the ground. Weights overturned, training dummies torn apart, and spray-painted across the concrete in red letters, "Grandma Goes Home." She stood there for a long moment, looking at the destruction. Then she started picking up the pieces. Danny Chen appeared beside her, silently helping to reorganize the equipment. Then Sarah Park. Then Thomas Green. The 3 who had passed the stillness test. The 3 who had started to understand what Gloria was teaching. Should we report this? Danny asked quietly. No. But they want a reaction. They want me to run to the commander to prove I can't handle the pressure. The best response is no response at all. By the time the other recruits arrived, the field was back in order. Gloria stood in her usual position, waiting as if nothing had happened. If Tyler Mason was surprised, he didn't show it. Today's lesson, Gloria announced, is about fighting when you're outnumbered. She gestured to the 4 members of the Alpha Squad. Mr. Mason, Mr. Stone, Mr. Webb, Mr. Hollister, you will attack me simultaneously. Use any technique you've learned. Don't hold back. The 4 men exchanged glances. This had to be a trick, some kind of trap. No one could fight 4 opponents at once, especially not a 54-year-old woman against 4 trained athletes. Now, Gloria said, they charged. What happened next would become legend in the Camp Pendleton training program. Gloria moved like water flowing around rocks. She was never where they expected her to be. Every punch met empty air. Every grab found nothing to hold. Every kick struck only shadows. And then she started hitting back. Tyler went down first, a strike to his knee that buckled his leg without causing permanent damage. Derek followed a palm strike to his solar plexus that dropped him gasping to the ground. Marcus's speed meant nothing when Gloria simply wasn't in the path he expected, and a foot sweep sent him sprawling. Jake lasted longest, his street-fighting instincts keeping him dangerous, but even he couldn't match decades of training against opponents far more lethal than 4 angry recruits. 45 seconds. That's how long it took. Gloria stood over them, breathing slightly harder than normal, but otherwise unaffected. The lesson, she said to the stunned recruits watching from the sidelines, is that numbers mean nothing without coordination. Strength means nothing without technique. Aggression means nothing without control. She extended a hand to Tyler. He stared at it for a long moment. Pride warred with something else in his eyes, something that might have been the first stirring of respect. He took her hand. Gloria pulled him to his feet. "Same time tomorrow, Mr. Mason. We have work to do." That night, Gloria received another visitor to her quarters. This time it wasn't Raymond Cole. "Mrs. Reyes," Danny Chen stood in her doorway looking uncertain. "Just Gloria. What do you need, Danny?" The young man hesitated. "I wanted to ask, how did you do that today, 4 against 1? I've never seen anything like it." Gloria gestured for him to sit. "What do you really want to ask?" Danny was quiet for a moment. "I'm the smallest person in this program. I'm not the fastest. I'm not the strongest. Everyone thinks I don't belong here, including me sometimes. But today, when you fought them, you're smaller than them too. You're older, and you won." Danny looked at her with something like hope in his eyes. How Gloria studied him. This was why she had come back. Not for Tyler Mason and his Alpha Squad. For the Danny Chens. The ones who didn't fit the mold, but had something inside them that was worth developing. "I'll tell you a story," she said. "When I was your age, I joined the Marine Corps. I was 5'2" and 110 pounds. Every single day, someone told me I didn't belong. Too small. Too weak. Too female. What did you do? I trained harder than anyone else. I studied longer than anyone else. I learned that size and strength are only 2 factors in combat, and there are dozens of others that matter just as much or more. Technique, timing, positioning, psychology, reading your opponent, controlling your own fear." Gloria leaned forward. "You know why I picked you out during that stillness exercise, because you understood something that Tyler Mason still doesn't understand. Combat isn't about being the biggest predator in the room. It's about being the one who's still standing when the chaos ends." Danny nodded slowly. "I want to learn," he said. "Whatever you can teach me. I want to learn." Gloria smiled. It was the first genuine smile she had worn since arriving at Camp Pendleton. "Then meet me at the obstacle course tomorrow at 0400 before everyone else wakes up. And be prepared to work harder than you've ever worked in your life." Danny stood up. "Thank you, Gloria." "Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you're still alive after your first real combat deployment." After he left, Gloria sat in the darkness once again. David's photograph watched her from the shelf. "I found one," she whispered to him. "The kind you always said were worth everything. The ones who don't look like warriors but have warrior hearts." The photograph, of course, said nothing back, but somehow Gloria felt like David was smiling. The days began to blur together after that. Training, conflict, lessons learned and lessons refused. Tyler Mason and his Alpha Squad continued their campaign of harassment, but something was changing. The pranks became less frequent, the threats less confident. Because every day, Gloria proved herself again. Every challenge they threw at her, she met and exceeded. Every test they created, she passed. And slowly, painfully, the first cracks began appearing in the wall of resistance. Derek Stone was the first to break. During a particularly brutal hand-to-hand session, Gloria pushed him to his limit and beyond. He collapsed, gasping, convinced he couldn't continue. "Get up," Gloria said. "I can't." "Yes, you can. Get up." "I said I can't." Gloria knelt beside him. When she spoke, her voice was different, softer, more human. "You can," she said. "I know you can because I've been where you are. Flat on my back, convinced my body had nothing left to give. And you know what I learned? The body can always give more. It's the mind that quits first. She extended her hand. Get up, Derek. Show me what you're really made of. Derek stared at her hand for a long moment. This was the woman he had tried to intimidate, the woman he had threatened, the woman he had assumed was weak because she was old. He took her hand. Gloria pulled him to his feet. Good, she said. Now let's go again. That night, Derek Stone did not join the others in planning their next harassment campaign. It was a small change. Barely noticeable. But Gloria noticed. 1 down. 3 to go. End of week 2. Gloria stood on the obstacle course at midnight running her personal time trial. Her knees screamed. Her lungs burned. Every muscle in her body begged her to stop. She finished in 3 minutes 48 seconds. Still faster than the base record. Still faster than any recruit in the program, but slower than her best. Gloria stood in the darkness, catching her breath, facing a truth she had been avoiding. She wasn't getting stronger. She was getting weaker. The daily grind was taking its toll. The years were catching up with her. The body that had carried her through 20 years of training elite warriors was finally starting to fail. She had 6 weeks left. 6 weeks to save the program. 6 weeks to transform these recruits. 6 weeks to prove that she wasn't the washed-up grandmother everyone thought she was. 6 weeks to keep a promise to a dead man who had believed in her more than she believed in herself. Gloria looked up at the stars. "I'm trying, David," she whispered. "I'm trying so hard." The stars, like the photograph, offered no response, but somehow Gloria found the strength to walk back to her quarters and prepare for another day. Because warriors don't quit. Even when everything inside them is screaming to give up. Especially then. Week 3 began with blood. Gloria was running her pre-dawn training with Danny Chen when she heard the shouting. 2 voices, male angry, escalating toward violence. She sprinted toward the sound, Danny close behind. Jake Hollister had Marcus Webb pinned against the equipment shed, forearm pressed against his throat. Marcus's face was turning purple. His hands clawed uselessly at Jake's arm. "Say it again," Jake snarled. "Say one more word about where I come from." "Jake," Gloria's voice cut through the darkness like a blade. "Release him! Now!" Jake didn't move. His eyes were wild, unfocused. This wasn't the controlled anger of a fighter. This was something deeper. Something broken. "He called me a gangbanger," Jake said. "Said I don't belong here. Said people like me always end up dead or in prison. And if you kill him right now, you prove him right." Those words hit Jake like a physical blow. His grip loosened slightly. Marcus gasped for air. "Let him go," Gloria said, moving closer. "Whatever he said, whatever he thinks, you're better than this. You're here because you chose something different. Don't throw that away for someone else's ignorance." Jake's arm trembled. Every muscle in his body was coiled for violence. Gloria could see the battle happening behind his eyes. The street kid fighting the Marine. The past fighting the future. "I can't," Jake whispered. "I can't just let people—" "Yes, you can. That's what warriors do. They control their rage. They choose when to fight and when to walk away. Right now, walking away is the harder choice. That's how you know it's the right one." For a long moment, nothing moved. Then Jake released Marcus and stepped back. His hands were shaking. Marcus collapsed to his knees, coughing and gasping. "Both of you," Gloria said. "My office, 1 hour. We're going to settle this like professionals, not like children." She turned to Danny. "Get the medic. Make sure Webb's throat isn't damaged." As Danny ran off, Gloria looked at Jake. He stood alone, head bowed, fists still clenched at his sides. "I almost killed him," Jake said quietly. But you didn't. If you hadn't come, but I did." Gloria stepped closer. "Jake, listen to me. Every warrior carries demons, every single one. The question isn't whether you have darkness inside you. The question is whether you control it or it controls you." Jake finally looked up. His eyes were wet. "I've hurt people before, back in Detroit. I did things I can't take back." "I know. I read your file." "Then you know what I am." "I know what you were. I'm more interested in what you're becoming." She started walking toward the administration building, then stopped. "1 hour, Jake. Don't be late." He nodded slowly. Gloria walked away, her mind already racing. The confrontation with Jake and Marcus was a symptom of a deeper problem. The recruits were fracturing under pressure. The Alpha Squad's harassment campaign had created divisions that were spreading like cracks in glass. If she didn't address it soon, the entire program would shatter. 1 hour later, Jake and Marcus sat on opposite sides of Gloria's small office. Marcus's throat was bruised, but functional. Jake's hands still trembled slightly. "Here's what's going to happen," Gloria said. "You two are going to talk. Really talk. Not posture, not threaten, not trade insults. You're going to tell each other the truth about who you are and why you're here." "Why should I talk to him?" Marcus demanded. His voice was raspy from the choking. "He almost killed me. Because in 6 weeks you might be deployed together. You might need to trust him with your life. And right now you can't even trust him to have a conversation." Gloria leaned back in her chair. "Marcus, you go first. Tell Jake why you said what you said." Marcus glared at her, then at Jake. His jaw worked silently for a moment. "Because I'm scared," he finally admitted. "Okay, I'm scared. Everyone here is bigger than me, stronger than me. The only thing I have is being fast, and Jake made me feel like that wasn't enough, so I hit back the only way I knew how." Jake stared at him. "You're scared of what? Of failing, of washing out, of going home and telling my dad I couldn't cut it." Marcus's voice cracked. "He was a Marine. His father was a Marine. If I fail here, I break a chain that goes back 3 generations." Gloria nodded. "Jake, your turn." Jake was quiet for a long time. "I joined the Marines because a judge gave me a choice," he said. "Prison or service. I picked service because I thought anything was better than a cell." He paused. "I was wrong. This is harder than prison. At least in prison I knew who I was. I was a gangbanger, a criminal, a lost cause. Here everyone keeps telling me I can be something different, and I don't know if I believe them." "You choked me because I called you a gangbanger?" Marcus asked. "I choked you because you reminded me of everyone who ever looked at me and saw nothing worth saving." The room fell silent. Gloria let it sit. Sometimes silence taught more than words ever could. "Here's the truth," she finally said. "Both of you are scared. Both of you are carrying weight that nobody else can see. And both of you dealt with that fear in the worst possible way." She looked at Marcus. "You attacked someone's identity because you felt threatened." She looked at Jake. "You responded with violence because it's the only language you trusted." She stood up. "Starting tomorrow, you two are partners. Every exercise, every drill, every training evolution. You succeed together or you fail together. And if either one of you has a problem with that arrangement, you can pack your bags tonight." Marcus and Jake exchanged glances. Neither spoke. "Dismissed." They left together, not speaking, but no longer looking like they wanted to kill each other. Gloria sat alone in her office, rubbing her temples. 3 weeks in, and she was already putting out fires. The Alpha Squad's campaign was working just not the way they intended. They weren't driving her out. They were tearing the program apart from the inside. She needed to change tactics. The next morning, Gloria assembled all 24 recruits for an announcement. "Today's training is canceled." Confused murmurs rippled through the ranks. "Instead, we're going to do something different. We're going to share stories." Tyler Mason laughed. "Stories, are you serious? We're supposed to be training for combat, not sitting around a campfire." "Shut up, Mason." The voice came from Derek Stone. Everyone turned to stare. Derek had been Tyler's most loyal follower since day one. This was the first time he had ever contradicted him publicly. "What did you say?" Tyler's voice was dangerous. "I said shut up. Every time she tries to teach us something, you make it about you. Maybe if you listened for once, you'd learn something." Tyler's face went red. "You want to say that again?" "Yeah, I do. Shut up." For a moment, Gloria thought Tyler might swing. His fists clenched. His weight shifted forward. Then he stepped back. "Whatever. This is stupid anyway." Gloria filed that moment away. Derek's defection was significant. The Alpha Squad was fracturing. "Here's how this works," Gloria said. "Each of you will share something true about yourself, something you've never told anyone, something that scares you." "Why?" Sarah Park asked. "Because the person next to you needs to know who you really are. Not who you pretend to be. In combat, pretense gets people killed." She looked around the circle of young faces. "I'll go first." Gloria took a breath. "My husband died 18 months ago. Cancer. He was sick for 2 years before the end. I watched him fade away piece by piece, and there was nothing I could do to stop it." She paused. "I've been in firefights. I've faced enemies who wanted to kill me. None of that scared me as much as sitting in that hospital room holding his hand, knowing I was going to lose him." The recruits were silent. Even Tyler had no response. "After he died, I stopped training. Stopped caring. Stopped wanting to get out of bed in the morning. I came here because someone reminded me that David wouldn't want me to give up. But the truth is, I'm still scared. Every single day. Scared that I'm too old. Scared that I can't do this anymore. Scared that I'll fail him." Gloria looked at Danny Chen. "Your turn." Danny stood up slowly. "I'm scared of being invisible," he said. "My whole life people have looked right through me. Too small, too quiet, too forgettable. I joined the Marines because I wanted to be someone people noticed, someone who mattered." Sarah Park went next. "I'm scared of being weak. My father told me women don't belong in combat. He said I'd wash out in the first week. I'm terrified he's going to be right." One by one, the recruits shared. Thomas Green talked about his brother who died overseas and how he joined to finish what his brother started. A recruit named Williams admitted he was fighting to prove he deserved the scholarship that paid for his sister's cancer treatment. Then it was Jake's turn. "I killed a man when I was 16, he said. The circle went dead silent. "Gang fight. He was trying to kill my cousin. I didn't think. I just acted. And when it was over, he was dead, and I was holding the knife." Jake's voice was steady, but his hands were not. "I'm scared that I'm still that person, that no matter how hard I try, no matter how much I change, I'll always be the kid with blood on his hands." Marcus was next. He didn't make eye contact with Jake, but when he spoke, his voice was different than before. "I'm scared of being ordinary, of being just another guy who tried and failed. I've spent my whole life being the fastest one in the room, and I'm terrified of finding out that speed isn't enough." Finally, it was Tyler's turn. Everyone waited. For a long moment, Tyler said nothing. His jaw was tight, his eyes fixed on some point in the distance. "Pass," he said. "There's no passing," Gloria replied. "Everyone shares." I said pass. And I said no. Tyler's eyes met hers. The challenge was clear. Push me, they said. See what happens. Gloria didn't blink. Your father is Major General Richard Mason. 2 stars, 30 years of service. A war hero with medals that could fill a display case. Tyler's expression flickered. I imagine it's hard, Gloria continued, living in that shadow, trying to measure up to a man who's already achieved everything you're working toward. I imagine it's hard when every success feels like it was handed to you because of your name, and every failure feels like it proves you never deserved to be here in the first place. You don't know anything about me. I know you're angry. I know you're scared. And I know that underneath all that arrogance is a young man desperately trying to prove he's more than his father's son. Tyler stood up abruptly. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't. You can walk away. You can quit. You can go home and tell your father that the old woman was too tough for you. Tyler froze. Or you can sit down and admit what everyone else in this circle has already admitted. That you're human. That you're afraid. That you don't have all the answers. The silence stretched. Then slowly Tyler sat back down. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. I'm scared of being nothing without him. My whole life, every door that opened, I wondered if it was because of me or because of my name. Every time someone praised me, I wondered if they were just trying to get close to my father. He looked at Gloria. I don't know who I am without the Mason name, and that terrifies me more than anything. Gloria nodded. Thank you, Tyler. That took courage. For the first time since she had met him, Tyler Mason had no clever response, no arrogant smirk, just a young man who had finally admitted the truth. The circle continued until every recruit had shared. When it was over, something had shifted. The invisible walls between them had cracked. Not broken, not yet, but cracked. It was a start. That night, Gloria found a note slipped under her door. She picked it up, expecting another threat. Instead, it read, I was wrong about you. Maybe we all were. D.S. Derek Stone. Gloria allowed herself a small smile. 1 down. More to go. Week 4 brought the evaluation committee. 3 officers from Special Operations Command arrived unannounced on a Tuesday morning. They wanted to observe training review progress, assess whether the program deserved continued funding. Raymond Cole wheeled himself into Gloria's office minutes after they arrived. We have a problem. I saw them. Did you see who's leading the committee? Gloria's stomach tightened. Who? Lieutenant Colonel Harrison Wells. He served under General Mason for 8 years. They're golf buddies. The implications hit Gloria immediately. The evaluation wasn't an objective assessment. It was a setup. General Mason had sent his ally to gather ammunition for shutting down the program. How long are they staying? 3 days. Full access to training personnel files, everything. Gloria stood up and walked to the window. Then we give them 3 days they'll never forget. She turned back to Raymond. Get me the obstacle course records. All of them. Every time, every name going back 30 years. Why? Because if they want a show, I'm going to give them one. The next morning, Gloria assembled the recruits with the evaluation committee watching from the observation platform. Today we run the obstacle course, she announced. Every single recruit. Best times advance to a special demonstration. Lieutenant Colonel Wells leaned forward in his seat, clearly expecting disaster. The recruits lined up. One by one, they ran. Danny Chen finished first with a time of 4 minutes, 31 seconds, faster than most experienced Marines. The committee members exchanged surprised glances. Sarah Park ran 4 minutes, 45 seconds. Then Thomas Green at 4 minutes, 38 seconds. Jake and Marcus ran together, pushing each other, finishing within 2 seconds of each other. 4 minutes 22 seconds, and 4 minutes 24 seconds. Tyler Mason ran last. He threw everything he had into the course muscles, burning lungs screaming. 4 minutes 15 seconds. 3 seconds faster than the base record that had stood for 30 years. Lieutenant Colonel Wells's expression shifted from skepticism to something else, something that looked like concern. Gloria stepped forward. "Those are impressive times, but times don't win battles." She walked to the starting line. "This does." Before anyone could react, Gloria launched herself at the obstacle course. The recruits watched in stunned silence. The committee watched with dropped jaws. Gloria flowed through the course like water through rocks, over the wall in under 3 seconds, through the tires without breaking rhythm, up the rope using perfect technique, under the wire like a snake, across the beam without hesitation. She crossed the finish line. 3 minutes, 44 seconds. 31 seconds faster than Tyler Mason. 34 seconds faster than the record that had stood for 3 decades. At 54 years old. Lieutenant Colonel Wells stood up from his seat. That's impossible." Gloria turned to face the observation platform. "Nothing is impossible, Colonel. That's what we teach here. That's what these recruits are learning. The only limitations that matter are the ones we accept." She walked directly toward the committee. "You came here expecting to find a failing program led by a washed-up instructor. What you found instead is the next generation of elite warriors being trained by someone who can still outperform them." Gloria met Wells's eyes without flinching. "When you report back to whoever sent you, make sure you include that in your assessment." Wells said nothing, but his expression said everything. The setup had failed. Whatever he had expected to find, this wasn't it. That night, Gloria collapsed in her quarters, every muscle screaming in protest. The obstacle course run had cost her. Her knees throbbed. Her shoulders ached. Her lower back felt like someone had driven spikes into it. She was getting older. Slower. The body that had carried her through 20 years of training elite warriors was finally reaching its limits. But she had bought the program time. And time was all she needed. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Enter." Tyler Mason stood in the doorway. "Can I come in?" Gloria nodded. Tyler sat down across from her, looking nothing like the arrogant young man who had mocked her in the mess hall 3 weeks ago. "How did you do that today?" he asked. "The obstacle course. 3 minutes 44. How is that even possible?" "Decades of training, proper technique, and a willingness to accept pain that most people refuse to tolerate." "But you're old, yes. I'm 54 years old. I have 3 grandchildren and a bad knee and arthritis in my left shoulder." Gloria leaned forward. "And I'm still faster than you." Tyler was silent for a moment. "I called my father tonight." Gloria's expression didn't change. "And he told me the evaluation committee was supposed to find evidence to shut this program down. He said Lieutenant Colonel Wells was handpicked to deliver a negative report. I assumed as much. He also told me that Wells called him after today's demonstration, said he couldn't write the report my father wanted, said what he saw today was the most impressive training display he'd witnessed in 20 years of evaluations." Gloria allowed herself a small smile. "So the program survives. For now. But my father is angry, really angry. He's not going to give up." Tyler looked at her with something that might have been respect. "I wanted to warn you. Whatever he's planning next, it's going to be worse than a rigged evaluation." "Why are you telling me this?" Tyler struggled with the answer. "Because what you said in that circle was right. I've spent my whole life trying to be my father's son. Maybe it's time I figured out who I am without him." He stood up. "I'm still not sure I like you. but I'm starting to think you might be the best instructor I've ever had." He left without waiting for a response. Gloria sat alone, processing what had just happened. Tyler Mason, her most resistant recruit, had just chosen her over his own father. The tide was turning, but Raymond's warning echoed in her mind. Whatever General Mason was planning, it would be worse than a rigged evaluation. She needed to be ready. The end of week 4 brought another crisis. Gloria was leading night navigation training when her radio crackled. "All instructors report to medical immediately. We have a critical situation." She sprinted toward the medical building, heart pounding. Inside, she found chaos. 3 recruits were being treated for severe dehydration and heat exhaustion. One of them was Danny Chen. "What happened?" Gloria demanded. The medic looked grim. "Someone tampered with their water supplies, replaced their hydration packs with salt water. They didn't realize until it was too late." Gloria's blood went cold. Salt water. During a night exercise in hot conditions. That wasn't a prank. That was attempted murder. Who had access to their equipment? Everyone. The gear was stored in the common area. Gloria looked at Danny, unconscious on the medical bed, IV fluids flowing into his arm. Someone in her program had tried to kill her recruits, and she had a very good idea who was responsible. She found Tyler Mason in his barracks alone. "Where are they?" Tyler looked up. "Where are who?" "Derek, Marcus, Jake. Where are they?" "I don't know." "Why, what happened?" Gloria studied his face. He seemed genuinely confused. "3 recruits are in medical. Someone poisoned their water supplies." Tyler's expression shifted from confusion to horror. "What? That's... No. We talked about pushing you out, about making things difficult, but nothing like that. Nothing that would actually hurt anyone." "Then who?" Tyler shook his head. "I don't know. I swear to you, Gloria, I don't know." For the first time, he had used her first name. Gloria believed him, which meant someone else in the program was willing to go much further than the Alpha Squad had ever planned. She spent the rest of the night investigating, questioning recruits, reviewing security footage, searching for any clue that would identify the saboteur. She found nothing. But one thing was certain. This was no longer just about training recruits. Someone wanted this program destroyed badly enough to kill for it. And Gloria was going to find out who. The next morning, Danny Chen regained consciousness. Gloria sat beside his bed, waiting. "Hey," Danny said weakly. "Did I miss anything important? You almost died." Danny processed that for a moment. "Someone did this on purpose." Gloria nodded. "Why, I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." Danny tried to sit up, winced, fell back against the pillows. "Don't move," Gloria said. "You need to rest." "I can't rest. The training will be there when you're recovered. Right now, your job is to heal." Danny was quiet for a moment. "Gloria, I need to tell you something." "What?" "Before the exercise last night, I saw someone near the equipment storage. I thought it was weird, but I didn't think anything of it." Gloria leaned forward. "Who did you see?" Danny's brow furrowed. "I couldn't see their face. It was dark, but they were wearing an instructor's uniform." An instructor? Gloria's mind raced. There were 6 other instructors assigned to the program. Any one of them could be working with General Mason. Any one of them could be the saboteur. "Thank you, Danny. Get some rest." She left the medical building with a new mission. Find the traitor, before they struck again. Gloria spent the next 48 hours watching everyone. Every instructor, every staff member, every person who had access to the equipment storage area. She memorized their routines, their habits, their interactions. She looked for anything out of place, any behavior that didn't fit. On the second night, she found it. Instructor Sergeant Michael Torres had been with the program for 3 years. Solid record, good evaluations. No red flags in his file. But Gloria noticed something no one else had caught. Torres made phone calls at exactly 2200 hours every night, always from the same spot behind the motor pool, always lasting exactly 5 minutes, always ending with him looking around to make sure no one had seen him. Gloria positioned herself in the shadows and waited. At 2200 hours precisely, Torres appeared. He pulled out his phone, dialed, and spoke in a low voice. "It's me. The salt water didn't work. Chen survived." Gloria's blood turned to ice. "I understand, but she's watching everyone now. If I make another move too soon, she'll catch me." Pause. "Yes, sir. I understand the timeline. The final evaluation is in 4 weeks. I'll make sure the program fails before then." Pause. "Yes, General. Whatever it takes." Torres ended the call and walked away. Never knowing Gloria had heard every word. General Mason had a man inside the program, someone willing to hurt recruits, maybe kill them to ensure the program failed. Gloria waited until Torres disappeared, then stepped out of the shadows. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear. From rage. 20 years of training warriors. 20 years of protecting young men and women who trusted her. And now someone had turned that trust into a weapon. She needed proof. Torres's phone call wouldn't be enough. She needed something concrete, something that would destroy General Mason's plan completely. And she needed to protect her recruits while she gathered it. The next morning, Gloria called a private meeting with Raymond Cole. "Torres is the saboteur. He's working directly for General Mason." Raymond's face went pale. "You're certain? I heard him on the phone last night. He reported to Mason, called him General, said he would make sure the program fails before the final evaluation." Raymond slammed his fist on his desk. "That son of a bitch. Torres has been with us for 3 years. I trusted him. Mason probably recruited him months ago, maybe longer. He's been waiting for the right moment. What do? We can't accuse a 2-star general of sabotage without proof." Gloria had already thought this through. "We set a trap. Make Torres think he has an opportunity to sabotage something critical. When he takes the bait, we catch him in the act. With witnesses. With evidence that even General Mason can't explain away." Raymond studied her. "That's risky. If Torres realizes what we're doing, then we lose everything. I know. But if we don't stop him, he'll find another way to hurt my recruits. I won't let that happen." Raymond was quiet for a long moment. "What do you need?" "Access to the training schedule, authority to make changes without going through normal channels, and your complete silence about everything I just told you." "You have it." Gloria stood up. "One more thing. I need you to trust me, Raymond. Completely. Even when what I do doesn't make sense." "Gloria, I've trusted you since the day we met. That hasn't changed." She nodded and left the office. The trap was set for 4 days later. Gloria announced a surprise night exercise, a full combat simulation in the training area using live ammunition with blanks. High stakes, high visibility. The perfect opportunity for sabotage. She made sure Torres overheard her discussing the security concerns with another instructor. Made sure he knew that the ammunition would be stored in a specific location with minimal oversight. Then she waited. The night of the exercise, Gloria positioned herself where she could watch the ammunition storage without being seen. Tyler Mason was with her along with Derek Stone and Jake Hollister. She had briefed them on the situation without revealing Torres's identity. Someone's going to try to sabotage this exercise, she had told them. Your job is to be witnesses. Nothing more. Don't engage, don't confront. Just watch and remember everything you see. At 21:30 hours, a figure approached the ammunition storage. Torres. He moved quickly, confidently, like a man who knew exactly what he was doing. He opened the storage container and began replacing the blank ammunition with something else. Live rounds. Gloria's stomach lurched. Torres wasn't trying to make the program fail. He was trying to create a massacre. Recruits firing live ammunition at each other during a combat simulation. Multiple casualties, maybe deaths, the perfect way to destroy the program permanently. Now, Gloria said. Floodlights blazed to life. Torres spun around, temporarily blinded, a box of live ammunition in his hands. Gloria stepped forward. Sergeant Torres, you're under arrest for sabotage, attempted murder, and conspiracy. Torres's face twisted with rage. You can't prove anything. I have 3 witnesses who just watched you replace blank ammunition with live rounds. I have a recording of your phone conversation with General Mason 2 nights ago, and I have the testimony of Danny Chen, who saw someone in an instructor's uniform near the equipment storage the night he was poisoned. Torres's confidence faltered. This won't matter, he said. General Mason has connections you can't imagine. He'll bury this. He'll bury you. Maybe. But right now you're going to tell me everything. Every order Mason gave you, every plan he made, everything. I'm not telling you anything. Gloria stepped closer. Close enough that Torres could see the look in her eyes. The look that had made enemy combatants surrender without a fight. Let me explain something to you, Sergeant. Those recruits you tried to poison one of them is like a son to me. Those recruits you were about to kill with live ammunition, I've spent 5 weeks training them, watching them grow, helping them become warriors. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You tried to hurt my people, and now you're going to tell me everything, or I'm going to make sure your life becomes very, very difficult. Torres swallowed hard. You can't threaten me. I'm not threatening you. I'm making a promise. Something in Gloria's eyes made Torres believe her. Fine, he said, but you have no idea what you're dealing with. Mason isn't just trying to shut down this program. He's trying to protect something much bigger. What? Torres laughed bitterly. His son, Tyler Mason. The golden boy who's supposed to become the next great warrior in the Mason family line. Except Tyler's not measuring up, is he? He's not the best recruit in the program. He's not even close. And that terrifies the general. Gloria glanced at Tyler, who had gone pale. Mason needs Tyler to succeed. Needs him to be the star of this program. But with you as instructor, Tyler's just another recruit. Good, but not exceptional. So Mason decided to remove the competition. Shut down the program, blame you for the failure, and transfer Tyler somewhere. He can shine without being compared to people who are actually better than him. Tyler stepped forward. That's a lie. My father would never. Your father ordered me to poison 3 recruits, Torres said. He ordered me to replace blank ammunition with live rounds. He was willing to let people die to protect your career, Tyler. That's who your father really is. Tyler looked like he had been punched in the stomach. Gloria turned to Derek and Jake. Take him to Raymond Cole. Make sure he doesn't talk to anyone else. They hauled Torres away. Gloria and Tyler stood alone in the harsh glare of the floodlights. Is it true? Tyler asked. His voice was barely audible. Did my father really do all that? Torres confessed. He has no reason to lie now. But people could have died. My friends could have died. Danny almost died. Yes. Tyler's hands were shaking. His entire worldview was crumbling around him. I defended him. Every time someone criticized him, I defended him. Every time someone questioned his decisions, I said he knew what he was doing. And the whole time he was Tyler couldn't finish the sentence. Gloria put a hand on his shoulder. What your father did is not your fault. You didn't know. You couldn't have known. But I'm his son, his blood. If he's capable of something like this, what does that make me? It makes you someone who has a choice to make. You can be defined by your father's sins, or you can define yourself by your own actions. Tyler looked at her with tears in his eyes. How do I come back from this? The same way everyone comes back from impossible situations, one step at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. She squeezed his shoulder. You're not your father, Tyler. Tonight you helped catch a man who was trying to kill your fellow recruits. That's who you are. That's what matters. Tyler was silent for a long moment. Then he straightened his shoulders. What happens now? Now we finish what we started. 4 weeks until the final evaluation. 4 weeks to prove that this program produces warriors worth funding. And my father, that's not for me to decide, but I promise you what happened here tonight won't stay hidden. The truth has a way of coming out. The aftermath of Torres's arrest sent shockwaves through the entire base. Military police took Torres into custody. General Mason was placed under investigation. The phone records that Gloria had obtained proved the connection between them. Torres's confession filled in the rest. 3 days later, Raymond Cole called Gloria into his office. It's over, he said. Mason's been relieved of command pending court-martial. Torres is cooperating fully with investigators. The program is safe. Gloria should have felt relieved. Instead, she felt exhausted. What about Tyler? That's why I called you in. Tyler requested a meeting with the base commander this morning. He asked to testify against his father. Gloria's breath caught. He wants to testify. He said, and I quote, "My father betrayed everything the uniform stands for. The least I can do is tell the truth about what happened." Gloria sat down heavily. That took courage. More courage than most people have. That boy has changed, Gloria. Whatever you did to him, it worked. I didn't do anything. He made his own choices. Maybe. But you gave him the tools to make good ones. Raymond wheeled himself closer. There's something else. The final evaluation has been moved up. Special Operations Command wants to see what this program can do before the investigation becomes public. They're giving us 2 weeks instead of 4. Gloria's mind raced. 2 weeks, that's not enough time. It's going to have to be. If we impress them, the program survives and expands. If we don't, everything we've built dies anyway. Gloria stood up. Then we have 2 weeks to create a miracle. She returned to the training field with renewed purpose. The recruits had heard about Torres's arrest, about General Mason's investigation, about Tyler's decision to testify. The news had transformed them. The petty conflicts and power struggles that had defined the first weeks of training were gone, replaced by something stronger. Unity. They were no longer 24 individuals competing against each other. They were a team facing a common challenge. Gloria gathered them together. You've heard what happened. You know what's at stake. In 2 weeks, we face the final evaluation. Everything we've worked for comes down to that day. She looked at each face in turn. I'm not going to lie to you. 2 weeks isn't enough time. By every standard measure, we should fail. The odds are against us. She paused. But odds don't matter. Standards don't matter. What matters is what you're willing to give. What matters is whether you can dig deeper than you've ever dug before and find something you didn't know you had. Danny Chen stepped forward. He was still recovering from the poisoning, still weaker than he should be, but his eyes burned with determination. Tell us what to do. Gloria smiled. We train. Harder than we've ever trained. We push past every limit we thought we had, and when the evaluation comes, we show them something they've never seen before. Tyler stepped forward next. I'm in. Then Derek, then Jake, then Marcus, then Sarah. One by one, every recruit stepped forward. Gloria looked at them and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The next 2 weeks were brutal. Gloria pushed them harder than any instructor had ever pushed recruits. 18-hour training days, combat simulations that lasted until dawn, physical challenges that made the obstacle course look like a warm-up. Some recruits broke down in tears. Some collapsed from exhaustion. Some questioned whether they could continue. But none of them quit. Danny Chen, despite his weakened condition, refused to accept lighter duties. He trained alongside everyone else, pushing through pain that would have stopped most people. Why? Gloria asked him one night after he had finished a particularly brutal session. You could take it easy. No one would blame you. Because if I take it easy, I'm telling myself I'm not good enough, and I'm tired of believing that. Tyler Mason became a different person. The arrogance was gone, replaced by quiet determination. He worked harder than anyone, not to prove he was the best, but to prove he could be part of something bigger than himself. Jake Hollister channeled his rage into focus. The violence that had once controlled him now served him. He became the team's most reliable operator in high-stress situations. Marcus Webb learned to slow down. He discovered that speed meant nothing without timing, and timing meant nothing without awareness. He became a strategist, not just a sprinter. Sarah Park became the team's unofficial leader. Her ability to read situations and coordinate responses made her invaluable. The father who had told her women didn't belong in combat would never have recognized the warrior she had become. And through it all, Gloria was there, pushing, teaching, demanding more than they thought they could give. Her body screamed at her every night. The 2 weeks of intense training had taken a terrible toll. Her knees swelled, her back spasmed. Every morning it took her longer to get out of bed. But she refused to show weakness. Refused to let them see how much it cost her. Because if she could keep going, so could they. 3 days before the evaluation, Gloria received a visitor she didn't expect. She was reviewing training footage in her quarters when the knock came. Enter. The door opened, and Tyler Mason walked in. But he wasn't alone. Behind him was a woman in her 60s, elegant and composed, with Tyler's eyes and a bearing that spoke of old money and older traditions. Gloria, this is my mother, Catherine Mason. Gloria stood up slowly. Mrs. Mason. Catherine studied her with an expression that was impossible to read. So, you're the woman who turned my son against his father. I'm the woman who taught your son to think for himself. Catherine's eyes narrowed. Then unexpectedly she smiled. Good answer. May I sit? Gloria gestured to a chair. Catherine sat down with the grace of someone who had spent a lifetime in formal settings. I came to thank you, Catherine said. Thank me for what you did to my son. Not to him. For him. Catherine glanced at Tyler. Richard has been controlling Tyler since the day he was born. Molding him, shaping him, trying to create a reflection of himself. I watched it happen, and I was too weak to stop it. Her voice caught slightly. When Tyler called me after Richard's arrest, he was different, stronger, more certain of who he was. For the first time in his life, he sounded like his own person, not an extension of his father. Gloria was silent. I know you have no reason to trust anyone named Mason, Catherine continued. But I wanted you to know that not all of us supported what Richard was doing. And some of us are grateful that you stopped him." She stood up. "The evaluation is in 3 days. I've made some phone calls. People who owe me favors, people who have no connection to my husband. They'll make sure the evaluation is fair." "Why would you help us?" Catherine looked at her son. "Because Tyler believes in this program. He believes in you. And for the first time in his life, I believe in him." She extended her hand. Gloria shook it. "Good luck, Mrs. Reyes. I have a feeling you're going to need it." After they left, Gloria sat alone processing what had just happened. Allies in unexpected places, support from sources she never would have predicted. Maybe the odds weren't as impossible as she had thought. The night before the evaluation, Gloria walked the training grounds alone. 20 years of training warriors, 3 deployments, a silver star, a dead husband, 3 grandchildren who barely knew her anymore. It had all led to this moment. Tomorrow, everything would be decided. The program's survival, her legacy, the futures of 24 young people who had trusted her to prepare them for whatever came next. She stopped at the obstacle course, the same course she had run on her first night, proving to herself that she could still do it. The same course where she had shattered the 30-year-old record in front of the evaluation committee. Gloria started to walk. Then she started to jog. Then she started to run. Her knees screamed, her back spasmed. Every step was agony. She didn't stop. Over the wall, through the tires, up the rope, under the wire, across the beam, through the barriers. She crossed the finish line and collapsed. Her body was broken. Her muscles were destroyed. She might not be able to walk tomorrow, let alone demonstrate anything. But she had proven something to herself. She could still do it. One more time. One more day, one more miracle. Gloria lay on the ground, staring at the stars, and made a promise. Tomorrow she would give everything she had left, every ounce of strength, every shred of skill, every lesson she had ever learned. And then whatever happened, she would finally be at peace. David's face appeared in her mind. "I kept my promise," she whispered. "I didn't stop fighting." The stars said nothing back, but somehow Gloria felt like David was smiling. Gloria woke before dawn, and her body refused to move. The obstacle course run from the night before had destroyed what little reserve she had left. Her knees were swollen to twice their normal size. Her lower back felt like someone had driven railroad spikes into it. When she tried to stand, her legs buckled. She caught herself on the edge of the bed, breathing through the pain. Today was the evaluation. The day everything would be decided. And she couldn't stand up. Gloria forced herself upright. One hand on the wall, then both feet on the floor, then one step, then another. Each movement was agony. But she had survived worse. She had crawled through desert sand with a bullet wound in her shoulder. She had carried a wounded Marine for 3 miles with 2 cracked ribs. She could do this. She had to do this. By the time she reached the training field, the recruits were already assembled. 24 faces turned toward her, filled with nervous energy and barely contained anticipation. They didn't notice her limp. She had practiced hiding it during the walk from her quarters. Years of training had taught her how to mask pain, how to move as if nothing was wrong even when everything was falling apart inside. "Today is the day," Gloria said. Her voice was steady, strong, revealing nothing of the battle happening inside her body. "Everything we've worked for comes down to the next 12 hours. The evaluation committee will test you in ways you haven't been tested before. They will push you harder than I ever pushed you." She paused, making eye contact with each recruit. But you're ready. You've been ready for weeks. All you have to do is show them what I already know. That you're warriors. That you belong here. That this program produces the finest operators in the military. Tyler stepped forward. What about you? What do you do during the evaluation? I watch, I advise, and if they ask me to demonstrate anything, I demonstrate. Danny Chen caught something in her voice. His eyes narrowed slightly, but he said nothing. The committee arrives in 1 hour, Gloria continued. Use that time to prepare yourselves mentally. Review the scenarios we've practiced. Trust your training. Trust each other. She turned and walked away, still hiding the limp, still pretending everything was fine. Raymond Cole was waiting for her in the administration building. You look like hell, he said. I feel worse. Can you make it through today? Gloria lowered herself into a chair, no longer bothering to hide the pain. I don't have a choice. Raymond studied her with concern. Gloria, if you collapse during the evaluation, I won't collapse. You can barely walk. Then I'll crawl. Gloria met his eyes. Those recruits trusted me to prepare them. I'm not going to let them down by sitting on the sidelines while they fight for their futures. Raymond was quiet for a moment. David used to say the same thing, right before he did something incredibly stupid and incredibly brave. David was a wise man. David was a stubborn fool, just like you. Raymond shook his head. The committee arrives in 45 minutes. 3 generals, 2 admirals, and the Secretary of Defense's personal representative. This is the most high-profile evaluation this program has ever faced. Because of the Mason scandal. Because of everything. The sabotage, the investigation, the media attention. Everyone wants to see if this program is worth saving, or if it should be quietly shut down and forgotten. Gloria stood up, ignoring the screaming protest from her knees. Then let's give them something worth remembering. The evaluation committee arrived at exactly 0800 hours. Gloria watched from the observation platform as 5 vehicles pulled into the training facility. 3 generals in dress uniforms emerged first, followed by 2 admirals and a civilian in an expensive suit who could only be the secretary's representative. Leading the group was Admiral Patricia Hawkins, a woman Gloria had heard of but never met. Hawkins had been the first female commander of a carrier strike group. Her reputation was legendary. Fair, but merciless. She had ended more military careers than anyone could count, and she had elevated just as many. Raymond Cole wheeled himself forward to greet them. Admiral Hawkins, welcome to Camp Pendleton. Master Sergeant Cole. Hawkins's voice was clipped professional. Let's skip the pleasantries. We're here to evaluate, not socialize. Where are the recruits? Assembled on the training field, Admiral. Hawkins turned to Gloria. You must be Chief Instructor Reyes. I've heard interesting things about you. I hope some of them were accurate, Admiral. We'll find out, won't we? Hawkins's eyes were sharp, assessing. I understand you've had some difficulties with this training cycle. Nothing we couldn't handle. So I've heard. A saboteur. A 2-star general under investigation. 3 recruits poisoned. And yet here we are, evaluation day, with a full complement of trainees. Hawkins stepped closer. I'm going to be honest with you, Chief Reyes. Half the people on this committee came here expecting to shut this program down. The Mason scandal gave them the perfect excuse, but I convinced them to give you one chance to prove them wrong. I appreciate the opportunity, Admiral. Don't appreciate it yet. The evaluation I designed is the hardest this program has ever faced. I wanted to see if your recruits can handle pressure that would break most operators. If they can't, the program dies today. Gloria met the Admiral's eyes without flinching. They can handle it. We'll see. The first phase of the evaluation was individual combat assessment. Each recruit faced a series of hand-to-hand combat scenarios against trained opponents. The goal wasn't to win every fight. The goal was to demonstrate skill, adaptability, and the ability to perform under pressure. Danny Chen went first. Gloria watched from the sidelines as Danny faced an opponent who outweighed him by 60 pounds. The evaluators expected him to be overwhelmed. They expected the smallest recruit to be the weakest link. They were wrong. Danny used every technique Gloria had taught him. He redirected his opponent's strength instead of fighting it. He found openings that shouldn't have existed. He moved like water flowing around attacks instead of trying to stop them. When it was over, Danny had won 3 of 4 bouts. The evaluators were silent, furiously scribbling notes. Admiral Hawkins caught Gloria's eye and nodded slightly. 1 down. 23 to go. Sarah Park was next. Then Thomas Green. Then Marcus Webb. One by one, the recruits demonstrated skills that exceeded what the evaluators had expected. Jake Hollister's performance was particularly impressive. The street fighter who had once nearly killed a fellow recruit now showed perfect control. He won every bout, but more importantly, he won them without excessive force. The rage was still there, but it was channeled, focused, deadly, in a controlled way. Then, it was Tyler Mason's turn. Gloria watched with particular attention. Tyler had more to prove than anyone. His father's disgrace hung over him like a cloud. Every evaluator knew who he was. Every evaluator was watching for signs that he was his father's son. Tyler's opponent was a Marine hand-to-hand combat instructor with 15 years of experience. The kind of opponent who had broken recruits' spirits, and sometimes their bones. The fight began. Tyler moved differently than he had at the beginning of training. The arrogant aggression was gone, replaced by patient precision. He didn't try to overpower his opponent. He outthought him. 3 minutes in, Tyler had the instructor on the ground arm locked, completely controlled. The evaluators exchanged glances. Admiral Hawkins made a note on her clipboard. Phase 1, complete. All 24 recruits had exceeded expectations, but the real test was yet to come. Phase 2 was tactical assessment. Squad-based scenarios designed to test coordination, communication, and decision-making under fire. Gloria had divided the recruits into 4 squads of 6. Each squad would face a different scenario, and the evaluators would rotate between them. Squad Alpha, led by Tyler Mason, faced a hostage rescue simulation. 6 hostages, multiple armed opponents, limited time. Gloria watched from the observation room as Tyler coordinated his team. Danny Chen was his second in command. Jake Hollister handled close combat. Sarah Park managed communications. Marcus Webb and Derek Stone covered tactical support. The scenario began. Immediately, everything went wrong. The hostages weren't where intelligence said they would be. The opponent force was larger than expected. Communications were jammed. Tyler didn't panic. Danny, take Jake and Marcus. Breach from the east. Sarah, can you restore comms? Working on it. Derek, you're with me. We'll create a diversion from the north. The squad moved like a single organism. 6 weeks ago, they had been individuals who barely tolerated each other. Now they anticipated each other's movements, covered each other's weaknesses, communicated without words. Tyler led the diversion that drew opponent forces away from the hostages. Danny's breach team moved in with surgical precision. Jake neutralized 3 opponents in under 10 seconds. Marcus provided cover fire, while Derek secured the extraction route. Sarah restored communications just in time to coordinate the final phase. All 6 hostages extracted. 0 friendly casualties. Mission time 4 minutes 32 seconds. The evaluators stopped writing. They just stared. Admiral Hawkins turned to Gloria. How long have they been training together? 6 weeks. That's impossible. That level of coordination takes months, years. Not if you teach them right. Hawkins studied Gloria with new eyes. Whatever she had expected to find at this evaluation, this wasn't it. The other squads performed equally well. Different scenarios, different challenges, same results. Each squad demonstrated capabilities that exceeded what the evaluators had believed possible for recruits with less than 2 months of training. By the end of Phase 2, the mood in the observation room had shifted. The generals who had come expecting to shut down the program were now leaning forward in their seats, engaged, impressed. But Admiral Hawkins wasn't satisfied. Phase 3, she announced. Full combat simulation. All 24 recruits. Maximum difficulty. Raymond Cole wheeled himself forward. Admiral, with respect, we haven't prepared them for a full-scale simulation. I know. That's the point. Hawkins looked at Gloria. Any squad can perform well when they know what's coming. I want to see how they perform when everything goes wrong. Gloria's heart sank. A full combat simulation with no preparation. Maximum difficulty. This wasn't an evaluation. This was a designed failure. But she couldn't refuse. Not with everything on the line. How long do we have to brief them? 15 minutes, starting now. Gloria gathered the recruits in a tight circle. Change of plans. The committee wants a full combat simulation. All of us. Maximum difficulty. We have 15 minutes. The recruits exchanged worried glances. We haven't trained for this, Derek said. No, we haven't. But we've trained for something more important. We've trained to adapt. To think. To trust each other. Gloria looked at each face. This is designed to break us. The committee expects us to fail. They want to see if we panic when the plan falls apart. She paused. We're not going to panic. We're going to do what warriors do. We're going to face the chaos and find a way through it. Tyler stepped forward. What's the scenario? I don't know. They haven't told me. Then how do we prepare? Gloria smiled grimly. We don't prepare for a specific scenario. We prepare for anything. She spent the next 12 minutes drilling them on adaptability. Communication protocols when normal channels failed. Decision-making frameworks when there was no time to think. Trust exercises that reinforced their connections to each other. When the 15 minutes were up, Admiral Hawkins appeared. The scenario is a compound assault. Multiple buildings, multiple objectives, unknown enemy strength. You'll receive intelligence updates in real time, some accurate, some false. Your job is to complete all objectives while minimizing casualties. She paused. Chief Reyes, you will participate in this simulation. Not as an observer, as a combatant. Gloria's blood ran cold. She could barely walk. Her body was falling apart. Participating in a full combat simulation would destroy her, but refusing would show weakness, would give the committee exactly what they needed to justify shutting down the program. Understood, Admiral? One more thing. The simulation is live fire with paint rounds. They hurt. A lot. Any recruit who takes a fatal hit is out of the simulation. Any recruit who takes a disabling hit must continue with that limitation. Hawkins met Gloria's eyes. I want to see how you perform when it's real, when there are consequences. Gloria turned to her recruits. You heard the Admiral. This is as close to real combat as training gets. Remember everything I taught you. Trust your instincts. Trust each other. She took a breath. And remember why we're here. Not to prove anything to them. To prove something to ourselves. The simulation began. The first 5 minutes were chaos. Gloria's knees screamed as she moved through the compound with Squad Alpha. Every step was agony. Every movement cost her something she couldn't afford to lose. But she kept moving. Paint rounds flew through the air. Recruits took hits, called out their status, adapted. The squads communicated through hand signals and abbreviated codes, maintaining coordination, even when the planned communication channels failed. Gloria spotted an enemy position and dropped into cover. Her lower back spasmed so badly she nearly cried out. She bit down on the pain and focused. "Tyler, 3 hostiles, 12 o'clock. Can you flank? On it." Tyler led Jake and Marcus around the enemy position, while Gloria provided covering fire. Her aim was still perfect. Decades of training didn't disappear just because her body was failing. 3 paint rounds, 3 hits, 3 enemies eliminated. But the simulation wasn't playing fair. More enemies appeared. Intelligence updates contradicted each other. Objectives changed without warning. Danny Chen took a hit to his leg. Disabling wound. He couldn't run. "Leave me," Danny said. "I'll slow you down." "No one gets left behind," Gloria said. "Jake, help him move. We continue as a unit." They pushed forward. Sarah Park went down with a fatal hit. Out of the simulation. She had been covering the squad's rear, protecting them from an ambush she had spotted before anyone else. "Sarah's down," Marcus called. "Derek, take her position. Keep moving." Gloria's vision was starting to blur. The pain was becoming unbearable. Her body was shutting down, demanding rest she couldn't give it. 20 minutes into the simulation, they had completed 2 of 4 objectives. But the enemy force was overwhelming. They were being pushed back, losing ground. Admiral Hawkins watched from the observation platform, her face unreadable. Gloria made a decision. "Tyler, take command. I'm going to draw their fire." "What, no? You'll be exposed." "That's the point. I draw them out, you complete the objectives." "Gloria, you can't. That's an order, Mason. Complete the mission." Before Tyler could argue, Gloria broke from cover and sprinted toward the enemy position. Her knees gave out halfway there. She stumbled, fell, kept moving on pure willpower. Paint rounds exploded around her, hitting her body, her arms, her legs. Each hit felt like a hammer blow. But the enemies were focused on her now. All of them. Every gun pointing at the 54-year-old woman who was crawling toward them like she didn't know she was already dead. Tyler saw the opening. "All squads, now move." The recruits surged forward. Without enemy fire pinning them down, they moved through the compound like lightning. Objective 3 fell. Then Objective 4. Gloria lay on the ground, covered in paint, her body finally giving up. She couldn't move anymore. Couldn't fight anymore. Could barely breathe. But through the haze of pain, she heard the words she had been waiting for. All objectives complete. Simulation ended. Victory. Admiral Hawkins descended from the observation platform and walked to where Gloria lay. "That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen," Hawkins said. Gloria coughed. "Did it work? You sacrificed yourself to give your recruits an opening. You knew you would be eliminated." "I knew they would win. That's all that mattered." Hawkins was quiet for a moment. "Medic." 2 corpsmen rushed forward and began assessing Gloria's condition. She tried to wave them off, but her arms wouldn't respond. "Stay still," Hawkins ordered. "You've done enough." The Admiral turned to the evaluation committee. "I've seen what I needed to see. We'll convene in 1 hour to discuss our findings." Gloria watched the committee members walk away. Some looked impressed. Others looked concerned. A few looked like they had just witnessed something they couldn't quite understand. Tyler appeared at Gloria's side. That was insane. You could have been seriously hurt. I'm fine. You're not fine. You can barely move. Gloria managed a weak smile. I moved when it mattered. That's what counts. Danny Chen limped over, still favoring his hit leg. You saved us. If you hadn't drawn their fire, you would have found another way. I just made it easier. Jake Hollister was next. His eyes were wet. Nobody's ever done anything like that for me. Nobody's ever sacrificed. Get used to it, Gloria said. That's what warriors do for each other. The corpsman loaded Gloria onto a stretcher. As they carried her to the medical building, she looked up at the sky and allowed herself one moment of hope. Maybe they had done it. Maybe the program would survive. Maybe everything she had sacrificed would mean something. Or maybe the committee would still shut them down. Maybe nothing would matter in the end. She didn't know. But she had given everything she had. And for the first time in 18 months, she felt at peace with that. 1 hour later, the evaluation committee convened in the conference room. Gloria had been given painkillers and told to rest. She ignored both. With Raymond Cole's help, she had made it to the conference room, sitting in a wheelchair she had sworn she would never need. The recruits were assembled outside, waiting for the verdict. Admiral Hawkins stood at the head of the table. I've conducted over 200 program evaluations in my career. I've seen elite units perform at the highest levels. I've seen training programs produce exceptional warriors. She paused. I have never seen anything like what I witnessed today. The room was silent. These recruits performed at a level that exceeds active duty special operations teams. Their coordination, their adaptability, their willingness to sacrifice for each other, these are qualities that cannot be taught in 6 weeks. They can barely be taught in 6 years. Hawkins looked at Gloria. And then there's the instructor, Chief Reyes. I know you were injured before the simulation began. I could see it in the way you moved. Most people would have sat out, would have claimed they couldn't participate. Sitting out wasn't an option. No, it wasn't, because you understand something that most instructors never learn. Leadership isn't about giving orders. It's about showing your people what sacrifice looks like. Hawkins turned back to the committee. My recommendation is immediate and unconditional approval of continued funding. This program should not only survive, it should be expanded. It should become the model for all special operations training. One of the generals raised his hand. Admiral, the Mason scandal. The Mason scandal is exactly why this program matters. A 2-star general tried to destroy it through sabotage and attempted murder, and it survived. It thrived. That tells me everything I need to know about its value. The civilian representative spoke up. The secretary will want a full report. The secretary will get one, along with my personal recommendation that Chief Reyes be promoted and given authority to expand this program to other bases. Gloria's breath caught. I'm just an instructor. You're the best instructor I've ever seen. And if you refuse the promotion, I'll have you court-martialed for insubordination. Hawkins smiled slightly. The vote. All in favor of continued funding. 5 hands went up. Unanimous. Motion carries. The program survives. Outside the conference room, the recruits waited in tense silence. Then the door opened and Raymond Cole wheeled himself out, followed by Gloria in her wheelchair. Well, Tyler asked. Gloria looked at her recruits. The 24 young men and women who had trusted her, followed her, fought alongside her. We did it. The explosion of cheers could be heard across the entire base. Danny Chen was crying. Jake Hollister was hugging Derek Stone. Sarah Park was shouting something incoherent. Marcus Webb was jumping up and down like a kid who had just won the championship game. Tyler Mason stood apart from the celebration, watching Gloria. She wheeled herself toward him. You okay? I don't know. Tyler's voice was quiet. My father is facing court-martial. My family name is ruined. Everything I thought I knew about my life turned out to be a lie. And yet here you are, a warrior who just helped save a program that your father tried to destroy." Tyler was silent. "That's who you are now, Tyler. Not your father's son. Not the Mason family legacy. Just Tyler, a warrior, a leader, someone I'm proud to have trained." Tyler's eyes glistened. "Thank you, Gloria, for everything. Don't thank me. Thank yourself. You did the work. You made the choices. I just pointed you in the right direction." She reached out and gripped his hand. "Your father's mistakes don't define you. Your choices define you. Remember that." Tyler nodded slowly. Then he joined the celebration with his fellow recruits, and for the first time since Gloria had met him, he looked like he belonged. That night, Gloria sat alone in her quarters, too exhausted to sleep, too wired to rest. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Enter." Danny Chen walked in, still limping from the simulation. "I wanted to check on you." "I'm fine." "No, you're not. I've been watching you for weeks. You're in pain all the time. You hide it, but I see it." Gloria was quiet. "Why did you do it?" Danny asked. "The obstacle course the night before the evaluation. I saw you, 3 in the morning, running the course like your life depended on it. Because I needed to know I could still do it." "But you couldn't." "Not really. You destroyed yourself." Gloria sighed. "When David died, I stopped believing I had anything left to give. I stopped training, stopped caring. Let myself become the old woman everyone sees when they look at me." She met Danny's eyes. "Coming here was supposed to prove I was wrong, that I still had something to offer, that I wasn't just waiting to die. And I proved it. Maybe not to myself, but to you, to all of you. If a 54-year-old grandmother can sacrifice everything for her mission, then what excuse does anyone else have?" Danny sat down across from her. "You know what I learned from you? Not combat techniques, not tactical strategies. I learned that limits are choices, that we decide when we're too old, too weak, too broken, and we can decide to be wrong about all of it." Gloria smiled. "You're going to be an exceptional warrior, Danny." "I already am, because I had an exceptional teacher." After Danny left, Gloria pulled out the photograph of David. "We did it," she whispered. "The program survives. The recruits are warriors. Everything you believed in lives on." She touched the photograph gently. "I miss you every single day, but I'm not waiting to die anymore. I'm living, really living, and I think that's what you wanted all along." The photograph smiled back at her, frozen in time eternal. Gloria closed her eyes and finally allowed herself to rest. 2 weeks after the evaluation, Gloria stood at the podium for the graduation ceremony. Her knees still ached. Her back still protested every movement. The doctors had told her she needed surgery, physical therapy, months of recovery. She had told them she would get to it eventually. 24 recruits stood before her in crisp dress uniforms, their faces transformed from the arrogant, uncertain young people she had met 7 weeks ago. They were warriors now. She could see it in the way they held themselves, in the steadiness of their eyes, in the quiet confidence that radiated from every one of them. Admiral Hawkins sat in the front row of the audience alongside Raymond Cole and a collection of brass that would have intimidated Gloria a decade ago. Catherine Mason was there too, sitting alone watching her son with an expression that mixed pride with sorrow. Gloria cleared her throat. 7 weeks ago, I walked onto this base convinced I had nothing left to give. I was 54 years old, widowed, broken in ways that don't show on the outside. The woman I used to be felt like a stranger. The warrior felt like a ghost. She paused, looking at each recruit in turn. Then I met you. Tyler Mason straightened slightly. Danny Chen's eyes glistened. Jake Hollister's jaw tightened with emotion he was trying to hide. You didn't make it easy. Some of you tried to drive me out. Some of you mocked me, threatened me, dismissed me as a washed-up grandmother who had no business training warriors. And you know what? Part of me believed you were right. Gloria's voice caught, but she pushed through. But here's what I learned. Warriors aren't born in comfort. They're forged in fire. Every obstacle you threw at me, every challenge, every moment when I wanted to quit, those were the things that reminded me who I am. She stepped out from behind the podium. I came here to save this program, but the truth is, you saved me. The audience was silent. Today, you graduate as the finest class this program has ever produced. You've exceeded every expectation, shattered every record proven, every skeptic wrong. But that's not what matters. Gloria walked toward the front row of recruits. What matters is who you've become. Not warriors because of your strength or speed or tactical skills. Warriors because of your hearts. Because you learned to trust each other. To sacrifice for each other. To find strength in places you didn't know existed. She stopped in front of Danny Chen. Danny, when I met you, you thought being small made you invisible. You thought you had to be bigger, louder, more obvious to matter. Danny met her eyes. You were wrong. The smallest flame can light the darkest room. Remember that. She moved to Jake Hollister. Jake, you came here carrying the weight of everything you'd done wrong. You thought your past defined you. You thought the darkness inside you was all you would ever be. Jake's hands were trembling. You were wrong. The darkness doesn't disappear, but you learned to aim it, to control it, to use it as fuel instead of fire. That's what warriors do. She stopped in front of Sarah Park. Sarah, your father told you women don't belong in combat. He told you that you would fail. Sarah's chin lifted defiantly. Call him tonight. Tell him he was wrong. Tell him his daughter is one of the finest warriors this program has ever produced. And tell him I said so. A small smile crossed Sarah's face. Gloria moved to Tyler Mason. Tyler. The name hung in the air. Everyone knew the weight it carried. The scandal, the investigation, the father facing court-martial. When I met you, you were trying so hard to be your father's son that you forgot to be yourself. You measured your worth by his standards. You defined your identity by his achievements. Tyler's eyes were wet, but he didn't look away. Your father made terrible choices. Choices that hurt people. Choices that could have destroyed everything we built here. But you made different choices. You chose truth over loyalty. You chose integrity over family name. You chose to become your own man. Gloria put a hand on his shoulder. That took more courage than anything you did in training. Remember that when the world tries to define you by someone else's sins, you are not your father. You are Tyler Mason. And I am proud of the warrior you've become. Tyler's composure finally broke. Tears streamed down his face, but he didn't move to wipe them away. Thank you, he whispered, for everything. Gloria stepped back to address the entire class. In a few minutes, you'll receive your assignments. Some of you will deploy overseas. Some will continue to advanced training. Some will take paths I can't predict. She looked at them one last time. But wherever you go, whatever you face, remember what you learned here. Not the techniques, not the tactics. Remember that limits are choices. Remember that strength comes from the people beside you. Remember that the hardest battles aren't fought with weapons. Gloria's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. And remember the 54-year-old grandmother who proved that warriors don't have expiration dates. The applause started slowly, then built to a thunderous ovation. The recruits broke formation to embrace her, surrounding her with gratitude and love that she hadn't known she needed. Admiral Hawkins approached through the crowd. "Impressive speech, Chief Reyes." "I meant every word." "I know. That's what made it impressive." Hawkins handed Gloria an envelope. "This is official. Your promotion to Senior Chief Petty Officer effective immediately, along with authorization to expand this program to 3 additional bases." Gloria stared at the envelope. "Admiral, I don't know if I can—" "You can. You will. This military needs more instructors like you, more programs like this, and you're going to build them." "I'm 54 years old. My body is falling apart." Hawkins smiled slightly. "Then train other instructors. Pass on what you know. Create a legacy that outlasts your body." Gloria looked at the recruits still surrounding her. At Danny, who had proven that size didn't define capability. At Tyler, who had chosen integrity over family. At Jake, who had transformed rage into purpose. At Sarah, who had shattered the limitations others placed on her. "A legacy," Gloria said quietly. "That's what this is really about, isn't it? Not programs or evaluations or military politics. It's about the warriors who come after us, the ones who will carry on when we're gone." Gloria thought of David, of his belief that the greatest warriors weren't the ones who won battles, but the ones who created other warriors. "Yes, Admiral, I'll do it." "Good. You have 6 months to develop a curriculum for instructor training. I expect excellence." "You'll get it." Hawkins walked away, and Gloria was immediately surrounded by recruits again. "Gloria!" Danny pushed through the crowd. "I just got my orders. Advanced Special Operations Training, the same program my brother couldn't complete before he died." "You'll complete it for both of you." "I will, I promise." Jake Hollister was next. "I'm being assigned to a youth outreach program. They want me to work with at-risk kids in Detroit, kids like I used to be." Gloria smiled. "You'll show them what's possible. You'll prove that the streets don't have to be the end of the story." "I learned that from you." Tyler Mason approached last. His mother stood beside him, her hand on his arm. "I've been offered a position as assistant instructor here," Tyler said. "Admiral Hawkins recommended me personally." Gloria raised an eyebrow. "You're staying." "If you'll have me." Tyler's voice was steady, but vulnerable. "I know I made your life hell when I first arrived. I know I don't deserve—" "Stop." Gloria cut him off. "You've more than earned this, and I could use someone who understands what it's like to overcome their own worst instincts." Tyler exhaled with relief. Catherine Mason stepped forward. "Thank you, Mrs. Reyes, for giving my son back to himself. He did the work. I just showed him the door." Nevertheless, Catherine's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Richard destroyed many things in his pursuit of power, but he didn't destroy Tyler, and that's because of you." Gloria didn't know what to say. She had spent so long fighting against the Mason name that she had forgotten there were people behind it who weren't the enemy. "Take care of your son, Mrs. Mason. He's going to do great things." "I know. I finally believe that." The ceremony concluded with Raymond Cole taking the podium. He had prepared remarks, but he set them aside. "I've known Gloria Reyes for over 30 years. I served with her husband. I watched her become one of the most decorated combat instructors in Marine Corps history, and I watched her walk away from everything when she lost the man she loved." Raymond's voice grew thick with emotion. "When I called her 2 months ago and asked her to come back, I wasn't sure she would say yes. I wasn't sure she had anything left to give. I was wrong." He looked directly at Gloria. What we witnessed in this program wasn't just excellent training. It was resurrection. Gloria didn't just teach these recruits how to fight. She taught them how to live. And in doing so, she taught herself the same lesson. Raymond raised his hand in salute. To Chief Instructor Gloria Reyes, the finest warrior I have ever known. Every recruit snapped to attention and returned the salute. Then the audience. Then the brass. Even Admiral Hawkins raised her hand in tribute. Gloria stood alone in a sea of people honoring her, and for the first time in 18 months, she didn't feel alone at all. 3 months later, Gloria returned to San Antonio. The program expansion was underway. Tyler Mason was proving to be an exceptional assistant instructor. Danny Chen had completed his advanced training and was already deployed overseas. Jake Hollister was making headlines with his youth outreach work, transforming gang members into something their communities could be proud of. But Gloria needed time away. Time to heal. Time to reconnect with the parts of her life she had neglected. Her daughter picked her up at the airport. "Mom," Elena embraced her fiercely. "You look different." "Different how? I don't know. Stronger. More you." Gloria smiled. "Where are my grandchildren? At home bouncing off the walls. They've been asking about you every day since you left." The drive home felt surreal. 2 months ago, Gloria had left this city believing she would never find purpose again. She had returned transformed, carrying wounds that would never fully heal and strength she hadn't known she possessed. The front door burst open before the car had fully stopped. "Grandma!" 3 small bodies collided with Gloria as she stepped out of the car. Maria, 7 years old, with her grandfather's eyes. David Jr., 5, named for the man Gloria still missed every day. And little Rosa, 3, who clung to Gloria's leg like she might disappear. "I missed you so much," Maria said. "I missed you more. Grandma-Mom said you were training warriors. Is that true?" Gloria knelt down to meet her granddaughter's eyes. "Yes, sweetheart, that's true." "Were they big and strong and scary?" "Some of them were. But you know what I learned? What? The strongest warriors aren't the biggest ones. They're the ones with the biggest hearts." Maria's eyes went wide. "Like you." Gloria pulled all 3 grandchildren into her arms. "Like all of us, sweetheart. Like all of us." That night, after the children were asleep, Gloria sat on her back porch with a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. Elena joined her. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "When you left for that training program, I was scared. I thought you were running away, that you were trying to find a place to die." Gloria was quiet for a moment. "You weren't entirely wrong." Elena's breath caught. "But that's not what happened. I went there thinking I had nothing left. I came back knowing I have everything." Gloria looked at her daughter. "I have you. I have the grandchildren. I have a purpose that will outlast my body. And I have peace. Peace. Your father's death broke something in me. I didn't know how to live without him. For 18 months I was just existing, going through the motions, waiting for the end." Gloria's voice strengthened. "But those recruits taught me something. They showed me that grief isn't the end of the story. It's just a chapter. A painful chapter, but not the final one." Elena reached out and took her mother's hand. "Dad would be so proud of you." "I know. I feel him with me every day, not haunting me anymore, just present, watching, believing in me the way he always did." They sat in silence for a long time, mother and daughter connected by love and loss and the unbreakable bonds of family. 6 months after that, Gloria received a phone call that changed everything again. "Chief Reyes, This is Admiral Hawkins. Admiral, what can I do for you? I have news. Danny Chen's unit was ambushed in Afghanistan. Heavy casualties, multiple fatalities. Gloria's heart stopped. Danny, he survived, barely. He's being medevaced to Walter Reed. But Gloria, he used everything you taught him. The after-action report says he saved 7 members of his unit by drawing enemy fire and creating an extraction opportunity. Gloria's throat tightened. That sounds familiar. It should. He learned it from you. Hawkins paused. He's asking for you, Gloria. He wants you there when he wakes up. Gloria was on a plane within 2 hours. Walter Reed Army Medical Center was a maze of corridors and wounded warriors. Gloria navigated it with the familiarity of someone who had visited too many hospitals, seen too many broken bodies. Danny was in the intensive care unit. When Gloria entered his room, she barely recognized him. Bandages covered most of his body. Tubes and wires connected him to machines that beeped and hummed with mechanical precision. But his eyes were open. And when he saw her, he smiled. You came. Of course I came. Gloria sat beside his bed and took his hand. Tell me what happened. Danny's voice was weak but steady. We were on patrol, standard operation. Then everything went wrong. Ambush from 3 sides. Half the unit went down in the first 10 seconds. He coughed, winced. I remembered what you said, about the obstacle course, about drawing fire to create opportunities. So I did it. I ran toward the enemy position, screaming, shooting, making myself the biggest target I could. You could have been killed. I almost was, but the rest of the unit got out. 7 of them made it because the enemy was focused on me. Danny's eyes found Gloria's. I thought about you the whole time, about how you did the same thing during the evaluation, how you taught us that sacrifice isn't about dying, it's about giving others the chance to live. Gloria's eyes were wet. I'm so proud of you, Danny. I'm proud of me too, for the first time in my life. Danny's grip on her hand tightened. You know what I realized while I was lying there bleeding, waiting for extraction? What? You were right about everything. Being small doesn't make you invisible. It makes you harder to hit. Despite everything, Gloria laughed. That wasn't exactly what I meant. I know, but it worked. Danny's eyes started to close. Will you stay until I wake up again? I'll stay as long as you need me. Thank you, Gloria, for making me into someone worth being. He drifted off to sleep, and Gloria sat beside him, holding his hand, watching the monitors that tracked his vital signs. This was her legacy, not programs or evaluations or promotions. This boy, this warrior, this life that she had helped shape. And there were others. Tyler rebuilding his identity from the ashes of his father's disgrace. Jake saving kids from the streets that had almost destroyed him. Sarah proving every day that women belonged wherever they chose to be. 24 warriors who would create more warriors, who would pass on the lessons Gloria had taught them. Who would carry her legacy forward long after she was gone. David had been right. The greatest warriors weren't the ones who won battles. They were the ones who created other warriors. Gloria had finally become the greatest warrior she could be. 1 year later, Gloria stood at the starting line of the Camp Pendleton obstacle course. It was 300 hours, just like the first night she had come here. The same floodlights, the same obstacles. The same ghosts of warriors past and future. But everything else had changed. She was 55 now. The surgeries had helped. The physical therapy had restored most of her mobility. She would never be the warrior she was at 30, but she had accepted that. She didn't need to be. Tyler Mason stood beside her, stopwatch in hand. "You sure you want to do this? One more time. For the record." Tyler smiled. "Your record still stands, you know. 3 minutes, 44 seconds. Nobody's even come close." "I know. But this isn't about the record." "Then what's it about?" Gloria looked at the course. At the wall she had climbed 100 times. At the ropes and tires and wire and beam. At every obstacle that had tried to break her and failed. "It's about proving something to myself. One last time." Tyler raised the stopwatch. "On your mark." Gloria settled into her starting stance. Her knees ached, her back protested. Her body was older, slower, more fragile than it had ever been. But her heart was strong. Her will was unbreakable. And she had learned something in the past year that she hadn't known before. Limits are choices. "Ready?" The floodlights blazed. The course waited. "Go!" Gloria ran. The wall came first. She hit it at full speed, hands finding purchase, pulling herself up and over. Slower than before, but still moving, still fighting. The tires were next. Left foot, right foot, rhythm, steady, breathing, controlled. The rope climb burned her shoulders. The barbed wire crawl scraped her elbows raw. The balance beam tested every ounce of focus she had left. The final sprint was agony. Pure agony. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. Every cell in her body demanded that she stop. She didn't stop. She crossed the finish line and looked at Tyler. "Time." Tyler stared at the stopwatch. 3 minutes, 47 seconds. 3 seconds slower than her best, but still faster than the 30-year-old record she had shattered when she first arrived. Still faster than any recruit had ever run. "That's good enough?" Gloria said. "Good enough? That's incredible. You're 55 years old." "I know how old I am," Gloria smiled. "But age is just a number, and numbers don't define warriors." She walked off the course, not limping, not struggling, just walking. Behind her, Tyler watched with something like awe. This was who Gloria Reyes was. Not a grandmother, not a widow, not a washed-up instructor living on past glory. A warrior. Still fighting, still proving, still showing the world what was possible. The next morning, Gloria gathered her new class of recruits. 30 young faces stared back at her, some with arrogance, some with fear, some with uncertainty about what they had gotten themselves into. She had seen these expressions before. She would see them again. "My name is Gloria Reyes. For the next 8 weeks, I will be your senior instructor." A young man in the front row smirked. He reminded her of Tyler Mason on that first day. Cocky, dismissive, convinced that the gray-haired woman in front of him couldn't possibly have anything to teach him. "Before we begin, there is something you need to understand." She stepped closer to the formation. "You think you know what a warrior looks like. You're wrong." The smirking recruit opened his mouth to say something. "Don't," Gloria said. "Whatever clever comment you're about to make, save it. I've heard them all. I've been called grandma, has been washed up, and worse. None of it matters." She began walking down the line, making eye contact with each recruit. "What matters is this: by the time I'm done with you, some of you will be warriors. Some of you will wash out, and all of you will learn something about yourselves that you didn't know before." Gloria stopped in the center of the formation. 7 weeks ago, I told my last class that the hardest battles aren't fought with weapons. They're fought inside your own head, against your fear, against your doubt, against every voice telling you that you can't, that you won't, that you shouldn't. She smiled. That hasn't changed, neither have I. The smirking recruit had stopped smirking. Something in Gloria's eyes had reached him. Something that couldn't be taught or faked or manufactured. Your first lesson is stillness. You will stand in this formation without moving for 45 minutes. No talking, no shifting your weight, no scratching itches or adjusting uniforms. Confused murmurs rippled through the ranks. Perfect stillness, Gloria continued, because the warrior who cannot control their own body cannot hope to control a battlefield. She checked her watch. 45 minutes begins now, and so it began again. The same lessons, the same challenges, the same transformation from raw recruits to finished warriors. But Gloria was different now. Wiser. Stronger. More certain of who she was and what she was meant to do. David had told her to keep fighting. She had kept that promise. The program had tried to break her. She had broken the program's records instead. Her body had tried to fail her. She had forced it to keep moving anyway. And now standing before another class of recruits, Gloria Reyes knew with absolute certainty that she would do this until she couldn't do it anymore. Not because she had to, because she chose to. Because warriors don't have expiration dates. Because limits are choices. Because the greatest legacy a warrior can leave is the warriors who come after them. Gloria Reyes had found her purpose. She had found her peace. And she had proven once and for all that the woman they had laughed at was the most dangerous person they had ever met. 45 seconds to break 4 recruits in combat. A lifetime to build warriors who would never break at all. That was her legacy. That was her truth. And that truth would echo through every warrior she trained, every life she touched, every lesson she passed on, long after her body finally surrendered to the years. Gloria Reyes, 55 years old, grandmother widow warrior, stood before her recruits and smiled. Time to get to work.